95%. Chapter 481 Surprise. 300,000 units of fine crystal ore. After about a minute or so, the light of the plaque retracted. Su Jian looked at Qin Tian with a happy face and said, Captain, let Hongbao control the battleship to fly to the palace on the far right. There is no energy data of crystal mines in the other palaces, but the one on the far right there are still 10% of the energy data of crystal mines in the hall. Only 10%. Hear what Su Jian said. Qin Tian's originally excited mood was drowned out by a basin of cold water. 10% of the crystal ore energy data. How many crystals can there be? But he straightened up immediately. Originally, I came here with the mentality of giving it a try. If I get it, I am lucky, but if not, it is fate. It is already a very good result to be able to obtain the crystal mine with 10% energy data beyond expectations. Seeing the disappointed expression on Qin Tian's face, 060, Su Jian didn't make a sound. Just an intriguing smile flashed in his eyes. Under Qin Tian's gesture command, Chu Hongbao controlled the goddess of Nemesis, and soon came to the rightmost hall with a height of more than 40 meters. Su Jian took a step forward. Use the imprint on your forehead to communicate with the plaque in the main hall again. After more than 10 seconds, the light on the plaque disappeared. The closed bronze gates of this great hall were simultaneously opened from the inside. Then there was a creaking sound from the dark hall. What's the situation? Could it be that there are some terrifying creatures in this hall? Come on, this old man won't harm me, God Qin, right? Probably not. God's chosen one can see loyalty. If it is really a betrayal, God Qin should be able to detect it. I guess there is either a mechanism or a robot for transportation. After all, Su Jian said just now that there are still usable crystal mines in this hall, so they must be transported out. It makes sense, it is probably the transportation agency, just look at it. Just when everyone including Qin Tian was extremely surprised and curious, I saw that a metal pipe with a diameter of 1 or 2 meters was assembled piece by piece from the hall. There is also a thick layer of rubber on the metal pipe. When the metal pipe landed on the front deck of the Nemesis impartially, the thick fat band began to stand up like a passenger station. Old Su, what is this for? Seeing this scene, Qin Tian couldn't help asking. Captain, this pipeline is specially used to transport crystal ores. After all, the star fleet of the Chengxing Empire was huge at the time, and the military industry department needed to build a large number of starship equipment every day. This way, transporting the crystal ores in the hall can save a lot of trouble. Su Jian just finished speaking here. Qin Tian saw pieces of crystal ore that were bigger than his head and exuding brilliance were transported out from the conveyor belt inside the hall. Such a large crystal mine. After seeing the volume of those crystal ore clearly, a black question mark on Qin Tian's head. Such a large piece of crystal ore, how many units of crystal ore are there? It can't be the same unit, can it? With doubts, Qin Tian opened his data backpack ahead of schedule. His eyes were fixed on the excellent crystal mine, 8,000 data. In terms of gloss, Qin Tian can be sure that these crystal ores are of good quality. Not a single crystal in it looked mottled and dull. The moment the first crystal ore fell on the deck, Qin Tian's expression suddenly became astonished. Because at that moment, he clearly saw the 8,000 units of high-quality crystal ore in the data backpack, which directly jumped to 8,100. This piece is actually 100 units directly. Looking at the length of 30 to 30 meters, it is covered with crystal ores of almost the same size. Qin Tian laughed. Now he only hopes that this conveyor belt covered with high-quality crystal ore can keep transporting him for 5 or 6 hours in this way, so that he can get more crystal ore. Nowadays, this kind of material is really too scarce. It seems to be okay. The crystal ores stored in this hall are all high-grade ores, even if it is only 10%, it should take us a while. Su Jian looked at the high-quality crystal mines falling on the deck one after another, and said with some joy, Old Su, how many units of crystal ore can this 10% crystal ore energy have? Qin Tian asked curiously. Captain, if it is stored according to the standards of the Chengxing Empire, this hall should hold enough 3 million high-quality crystal ores, and the energy standard stored in each high-quality crystal ore is 100 units. If you convert these, you will be able to harvest more than 300,000 pieces of high-quality crystal ore this time, Captain. Su Jian said to Qin Tian with a smile. How much? How much? Hear what Su Jian said. Qin Tian's eyes widened in disbelief. He thought it would be nice to have 10,000 or 20,000 for 10%. Who would have known that the other party would give him such a big surprise? Ha ha ha, Captain, you heard me right, it's more than 300,000 yuan. Su Jian confirmed with a smile. Hiss. Here accurate answers. Qin Tian's eyes suddenly lit up with excitement and excitement. More than 300,000 high-quality crystal ores. This amount is already enough to advance the Nemesis into a T-1 interstellar frigate, and there is still 100,000 left. Of course, the level of the Nemesis large aerospace aircraft carrier is completely sufficient now. These crystal mines still need to be spent on strengthening one's own force. Zhengyi, Yan Bin, you two go down and call some people up, and ask them to move all these crystal ores to the cabin below and put them away. Qin Tian shouted to Zhang Zhengyi and Yan Bin, who were not far away. Okay, Captain. The 2.0 people dared not delay after hearing the words. He quickly ran below the deck, and ran up with a group of crew members in a short while. Hello, Captain. Hello, Mr. Su. After a group of crew members greeted Qin Tian and Su Jian. Immediately, one person was busy holding 2 crystal ores. DDD. And at this moment, suddenly, a private message notification sounded in Qin Tian's mind. He opened it and saw that Elisa was sending him a message. He thought something was wrong. Quickly checked the content of the information. As a result, Elisa sent him a message. Qin Shen, just now Captain Li Yao flew back in the mech and said that Dick was leading tens of thousands of corroded warships to ambush you at the entrance to the treasure house of the Chengxing Empire. She asked me to inform you one time. 95%. Chapter 482 Horrible Laser Cannon, Weapon Equipment Box. When Qin Tian saw this message, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief. He thought that the Phoenix had encountered some danger. After seeing that it was not what he imagined, he chuckled and sent a message to the other party. I've expected this a long time ago. You tell Li Yao, let her tell Rui that they don't have to worry. The attack power of the 10,000 to 20,000 warships is not a threat to me now. The most important thing is that I found crystal ore in it, and it will take about a few hours to go out, so they don't have to worry, just do what they said before. Oh, okay, God Qin, then I'll tell Captain Ji Yao. Complete this message. There was no movement on Elisa's side. After waiting for a minute, the other party just sent him a message. Okay, God Qin, I have already repeated what you said to Captain Li Yao, and the captain has just left. Okay, I see, you all pay attention to safety in that sea area, and contact me immediately if you encounter an emergency. After finishing the correspondence with Arisa, 21 Qin Tian looked at the crystal ore that was still being transported out. My heart is full of joy. Just such a short time. A small stone pile with a diameter of 7 or 8 meters has already been piled up on the deck. After thinking about it, Qin Tian stepped directly in front of one of the newly installed Genesis-class laser cannons. Then with a thought, he used the Divine Detective technique on the Creation-class Star Commander laser launcher. And also set his sights on the Advanced Enhancement at the bottom. Advanced strengthening of the Genesis-level Star Commander laser launcher requires 15,000 high-quality crystal ores, 70,000 high-quality metal sheets, and 60,000 high-quality nails. Does the captain want to strengthen it? Strengthen. Hear this beep. Qin Tian chose to strengthen without hesitation. Now strengthened, just to save those crew members a lot of effort. And with Qin Tian's selection completed, a golden light quickly shone from the entire naval gun. Qin Tian could clearly see it. After strengthening, the laser naval gun in front of me has a qualitative improvement in both the diameter of the muzzle and the material of the gun body. Qin Tian immediately opened the attribute panel of this laser cannon with Divine Detective technique, full of anticipation. Genesis-class Star Commander laser launcher. Quality: colorful. 47,000. Effective range: 50,000 kilometers. Durability: 30,000. Effective rate of fire: 15 rounds per minute. Requirement: for every 20,000 units of power consumed, it can be launched for 1 minute. Introduction: a laser cannon that has been improved by the Scientific Research Center of the Chengxing Empire Military Department. ? After seeing the last sentence in introduction, Qin Tian's breathing suddenly involuntarily increased a bit. This ability added after strengthening is too awesome. 47,000 attacks cause 3 times the damage, wouldn't that be 141,000 attacks? Although the 4 Creation Star Commander laser launchers, each attack only has a 20% chance of delivering this violent blow. But triple damage is really sweet. Even after a battle, Each of these 4 laser naval guns can only deal this kind of damage once. Those 4 together have more than 500,000 blood damage. I have to say, this is really powerful. And the effective range has also increased from 20,000 kilometers to 50,000 kilometers. The effective rate of fire has also been increased from 12 rounds per minute to 15 rounds per minute. This improvement can be said to be very comprehensive. For the rest of the time, Qin Tian in turn strengthened the remaining 3 Creation Star Commander laser launchers with advanced enhancement. Although 60,000 fine crystal ores were consumed. But after looking at the more than 30,000 values of the Nemesis from attack 1841521904424 to attack 216125222424, the value has increased. The corners of Qin Tian's mouth raised involuntarily. Sure enough, this epic-making weapon has high damage. After he sighed in his heart, he chatted with Su Jian without saying a word and waited. The crystal ore has been transported for more than 2 hours. When the last piece of crystal ore on the metal pipeline transport belt fell on the deck of the Nemesis. Seeing that the metal pipe began to automatically fold up and retract section by section. There is no question of how metal pipes work. Qin Tian looked at the excellent crystal mine, 263,000 data in the data backpack. I am quite satisfied, not much though. But it is enough for him to create or strengthen several weapons and equipment. Captain, shall we go directly to the east to search for the old man's weapons that I have kept? At this moment, Jian asked Qin Tian directly. Yes, first finish the important 397 things we came in this time, and then spend some time going to other places. Qin Tian nodded and said. Immediately under the guidance of Qin Tian's gesture, Chu Hongbao manipulated the goddess of Nemesis to the east construction area. It can be clearly seen. Although there are few buildings here, they are generally tall. There are 2 buildings that are hundreds of meters high. As usual, it was the kind of operation just now. Su Jian used the mark on his forehead to establish a connection with one of the 100-meter tall buildings. After the building's plaque retracted the light, I saw that the walls in front of the building actually began to line up on both sides. Then from the dozens of floors, 20 or 30 floating platforms flew out one after another. Wait for those floating platforms to get closer. Only then did Qin Tian realize that there was a huge sealed alloy box placed on those suspended platforms. Old Su, are these the commemorative weapons and equipment that you sealed up back then? Qin Tian looked at these suspended platforms curiously and asked Su Jian. A glimpse of a leopard in a tube. Just from the treasury of the Chengxing Empire, it can be seen how powerful the technology of the Chengxing Empire was developed back then. That's right, Captain, these 28 pieces of equipment boxes are some souvenirs that the old man wanted to leave for the Empire. 96%. Chapter 483 Genesis Level Shoulder Cannon, Antimatter Engine. Facing Qin Tian's curious question, Su Jian nodded and said with a smile, these weapons and equipment, each of them has had brilliant achievements in the past. It's just that it was either because of serious damage or because of replacement. These weapons and equipment were replaced. And the old man, I don't want to watch them being thrown into the pulverizer and smelting furnace to erase their existence without any value, so I repaired them and sealed them up. Quote. Su Jian smiled and nodded. Old Su, you really did me a great favor. Hear what Su Jian said. After Qin Tian gave the other party a thumbs up, he praised with a smile. It's the decision you made back then that caused me to pick up the loopholes I have now. Next, I'm afraid these weapons and equipment can help me solve a lot of problems. Su Jian smiled and waved his hands and said, Old man, I didn't expect that the unintentional actions back then could have such a big effect now. As for the captain who can harvest them, it is your blessing, Captain, and it is destiny. Where to go? But the old man, I don't know how much of these weapons and equipment can still be used normally after an era of erosion. This needs to be opened and inspected to know. Quote. Qin Tian nodded with a smile after hearing this, and said, It's okay, the deck is so big, it's big enough to accommodate these treasure chests, Mr. Su, you just feel free to do it. Yes, Captain. Su Jian heard the words and responded. Then the mark on the forehead began to flicker one after another. Qin Tian saw those suspended platforms flying toward the Nemesis as if they had received some kind of call. Then they landed on the deck one by one in an orderly manner. Qin Tian followed Su Jian and walked towards the first huge treasure chest. Looking at this alloy-sealed box with a length of about 4 or 5 meters. He was curious as to what kind of weapons it contained. I saw Su Jian walking right in front of the metal box. After tapping from the side, a small keyboard pops up. Su Jian entered a string of passwords and verified his iris. There was a sound of air pressure valve exhausting. The lid of the metal box in front of him began to slowly open upwards. At the same time, the connecting device designed inside also supports the metal plate at the bottom of the metal box. Two small laser cannons placed inside were exposed. Qin Tian asked Su Jian curiously, "Old Su, what kind of laser cannon is this?" Su Jian replied, "Captain, these are the two laser cannons installed on the shoulders of the mecha." Oh, Qin Tian's heart suddenly moved. Now Rui and his mechs are equipped with weapons that they brought with them when they were first manufactured. Although the power can also be. But the quality is only epic purple after all. If you can change to two shoulder laser cannons with better quality and more power, that is naturally better. Think here. As soon as Qin Tian moved his mind, he used divine detective technique to investigate the two mecha-specific laser cannons in front of him. Item: Genesis 25mm shoulder laser cannon. Quality: colorful. Ix: 3000. Effective range: 3000 kilometers. Durability: 10,000. Effective rate of fire: 20 rounds per minute. Requirement: for every 500 units of power consumed, it can be launched for 1 minute. Introduction. The small laser cannon mounted on the shoulder of the mecha has the characteristics of high firing rate and high explosion. Normal enhancement. Low quality crystal ore 2000, low quality metal sheet 20,000, low quality nail 10,000, strengthening can increase attack by 2000. Quality enhancement. 4,000 ordinary crystal Oregon, 40000 ordinary metal sheet, 30,000 ordinary nail, strengthening can increase attack power by 4,000. Advanced enhancement. 3,000 high-quality crystal ores, 80,000 high-quality metal pieces, 60,000 high-quality nails, strengthening can increase attack by 7,000. See the data for this property panel. Qin Tian was still very satisfied. Not to mention the increase in attack power, it may be because it is equipped with mechs. The requirements for crystal ore are not high when strengthened. This is exactly what Qin Tian wanted. Attack power of 10,000 after strengthening. It can fire 20 lasers in 1 minute. Theoretically, as long as all of them are hit, it will cause 200,000 damage per minute. Combined, the two gates can deal 400,000 damage per minute. This attack power can be said to be very against the sky. No wonder Su Jian treasured it like a treasure. At this time, Su Jian also leaned forward to take a closer look. After some knocking and checking, he also said with a smile on his face, "Congratulations, Captain, a good start. The pair of shoulder laser cannons have not suffered any damage, and they can be used to add to Rui's mechs after they go out." Qin Tian smiled and nodded when he heard the words, and said, "That's right, this is all thanks to you, Mr. Su." At this moment, Qin Tian began to look forward to it. The first equipment box that was opened casually was the creation-level weapon equipment. But now, there are more than 20 such metal boxes on the deck of the ship he cut. Could it be that the metal box at the back is full of creation-level treasures? Think here. Qin Tian's breathing could not help but increase a bit. It's just a beautiful imagination. But the reality quickly gave him a big mouth. Next, Su Jian opened 4 metal boxes in a row. But the things inside have been eroded by the power of time and turned into a pile of rusty broken copper and iron. Even if you use divine detective technique to see it, the answer given is also rusty, broken copper and iron that has lost any value of use. That's all. Zhao's Zhao. Wait until Su Jian opened the 8th treasure chest. Only then did Qin Tian's eyes light up. I saw the library with the opening of the metal box cover. What appeared inside this time was a pair of purple mech back propeller wings. I only heard Su Jian say, "Huh. I didn't expect that the wings of the antimatter engine propellers were not damaged. This is really a surprise." Antimatter engine. Hear this ranking. Qin Tian hastily used divine detective technique to look at the purple wing in the box. Item: Genesis class antimatter particle engine booster for mechs. Quality: colorful. Efficacy: the core field of research in the middle and late stages of the Chengxing Empire, using the energy generated by the annihilation of subatoms and positive matter to provide power to the mecha. It has the outstanding characteristics of lightweight and high power, improve mobility and have far beyond ordinary endurance. 96%. Chapter 484 Genesis Class 130 megameters Electromagnetic Superconducting Railgun. After checking the attribute panel of the thruster wings with detective technique, Qin Tian shook his head somewhat disappointed. Obviously, there is no room for further strengthening of this creation-class antimatter particle engine booster. But the 5 words of antimatter engine alone are enough to prove its power. So even if it is not strengthened, the booster effect of this wing shape should also be top-notch. Nodding in satisfaction, Qin Tian continued to follow Su Jian to open the box. In the remaining 20 or so metal boxes, most of the equipment inside has become tattered. In the end, only 1 Genesis-class Wanduan ship saber, 2 Genesis-class head beam cannons, and 2 electromagnetic railguns that can be used on the ground and battleships can continue to be used safely. Although there are not even half of the more than 20 metal boxes that can be used. But these are already very good for Qin Tian. After all, these are surprises. And all of them are creation-level weapons from the Chengxing Empire period. Let it go until now. Just take out any piece of equipment and you can beat other gods chosen. The most important thing is that these newly developed equipment can all rely on Qin Tian's divine detective technique to perform advanced strengthening. This is very important. 930 If it is said that the version before advanced enhancement can beat Blue Star's local god chosen, then the version after advanced enhancement, not to mention that it can stabilize the 3 civilizations of Zuer, Novi and Ryan. But maintaining equality should be fine. At least the quality of equipment can be compared with them. Thinking of Dick, who is still guarding outside, Qin Tian looked at the metal box in front of him. Just the combination of the gun barrel and the rail platform has an electromagnetic railgun nearly 10 meters long. With a thought, he moved this big guy out. He wants to teach the other party a lesson he will never forget in his life. On the flight deck where the mecha is placed, Qin Tian found a place that was not too obstructive to install the electromagnetic rail gun. In the studio, many people who saw this scene became excited immediately. Oh my god, this electromagnetic railgun is really cool. Oh my god, it's so impressive to watch. If this guy shoots down, will the enemy's warship be shot right through? Wow, ha ha ha, I can already imagine Dick's expression when he was flirted with Cbida for a while. Oh my god, Dick would never have dreamed that Qin Tian would get so many good things after he came in. It seems that the high-level members of our Eurasian Federation are not all idiots full of oily minds. I went to see it just now, and the fleet that was originally deployed outside the copy of the Sea of Death has already begun to retreat. Obviously, the above is giving up action against Qin Tian. Hee, even if they still have a little self-knowledge, there are only tens of thousands of warships. After stationing all the entrances and exits of the Sea of Death dungeon, on average, there are only 3 or 2,000 warships guarding each entrance. As far as Qin Tian is concerned, he is not qualified to send it to others to tickle his itch. There was a heated discussion in the live broadcast room, and in the treasure house of the Chengxing Empire. After Qin Tian installed the rail gun, with a thought, he opened the properties panel of this rail gun and checked it. Item: Genesis Class 130mm Electromagnetic Superconducting Railgun. Quality: colorful. Ix: 30,000. Effective range: 80,000 meters. Durability: 20,000. Effective rate of fire: 3 rounds per minute. Requirement: 1 shot can be fired for every 10,000 units of electric energy consumed. Introduction: using the magnetic field generated by the strong current to accelerate the sliding between the tracks to make the ammunition launch at subsonic speed, its high-speed kinetic energy can wipe out any enemy who dares to block it. Normal enhancement: 50,000 low-quality crystal ore, 150,000 low-quality metal sheet, 120,000 low-quality nail, 200,000 low-quality plastic. Strengthening can increase attack power by 5,000. High-quality enhancement: ordinary crystal ore 40,000, ordinary metal sheet 100,000, ordinary nail 90,000, ordinary plastic 160,000. Strengthening can increase attack power by 12,000. Advanced reinforcement: 30,000 high-quality crystal ore, 80,000 high-quality metal sheet, 70,000 high-quality nail, 120,000 high-quality plastic. Strengthening can increase attack power by 50,000. 666. After seeing the attribute panel of this Genesis 130mm electromagnetic superconducting railgun, the excitement in Qin Tian's eyes was immediately apparent. Although the materials needed for strengthening are scary, but the increased attack power after strengthening is also incredible. I just don't know after advanced enhancement, can this Genesis Class 130mm electromagnetic superconducting railgun have any powerful and special abilities? Think like this. Qin Tian decisively carried out advanced strengthening on the Genesis-class 130mm electromagnetic superconducting railgun in front of him. Advanced Enhanced Genesis 130mm electromagnetic superconducting railgun requires 30,000 high-quality crystals, 80,000 high-quality metal sheets, 70,000 high-quality nails, and 120,000 high-quality plastics. Will the captain strengthen it? Strengthen. Hear this beep. Qin Tian immediately nodded and chose to strengthen, accompanied by the golden light flashing from the slender cannon body. A terrifying heavy feeling permeated from the gun body of the Genesis-class 130mm electromagnetic superconducting railgun. Even Qin Tian, who was standing next to the railgun, felt as if he was being crushed by a boulder. Just from the momentum, you can see how powerful the enhanced Genesis-class 130mm electromagnetic superconducting railgun is. With anticipation, Qin Tian opens the railgun's current properties panel. Item: Genesis-class 130mm electromagnetic superconducting railgun. Quality: colorful. Ix: 80,000. Effective range: 100,000 meters. Durability: 30,000. Effective rate of fire: 5 rounds per minute. Requirement: 1 shot can be fired for every 10,000 units of electric energy consumed. Introduction: using the magnetic field generated by the strong current to accelerate the sliding between the tracks, the ammunition is launched at a subsonic speed. Its high-speed kinetic energy can wipe out any enemy who dares to block it. Each attack has a 30% chance to cause a weak point attack on the enemy. The next attack must be a critical strike, and the cooling time is 5 minutes. 96%. Chapter 485. Genesis Level Star Level Intelligent Assistance System. Bull Batch. After seeing the brand new attribute panel of Genesis 130mm electromagnetic superconducting railgun, the corners of Qin Tian's mouth couldn't help but twitched. Whether it's an attack power of 80,000 or a range of 100 kilometers, or the ability to strike new weak points after strengthening, all demonstrate the strength of this railgun at the current dominant level. 5 shots a minute. Each attack has a minimum of 80,000. If all hit. If you say less for a minute, you will get 400,000 damage. This is totally possible. This means that he is going to install another railgun on the God-level Treasure Island Go. Otherwise, the 2 railguns are installed together. These 2 naval guns alone can provide him with nearly 1 million damage in 1 minute. Seeing that the equipment area in the east is almost done, Qin Tian raced against time and waved his hands in the direction of the control room. Then he pointed to the buildings in the west area. See this scene. The few people in the control room dare not neglect. Chu Hongbao quickly drove the goddess of Nemesis to the buildings in the west where the loot was stored. There is no need for Qin Tian to order. After arriving at the place, Jijian himself used the imprint on his forehead to communicate with the first building. After some investigation, seeing Su Jian turn his head, he shook his head with hands spread out towards Qin Tian. Obviously, the booty stored here has been corroded by an era of time, and there is nothing left. Qin Tian nodded without showing any disappointment. He just wanted to try his luck. Immediately afterwards, he asked Su Jian to detect the situation of the second building. At the same time, he used divine detective technique, looking at those buildings one by one. As a result, he really found out. When his eyes fell on the third last hall, a line of information suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. Creation Level Star Intelligent Assistance System. When seeing this name, Qin Tian was a little surprised. Could something like this be considered a trophy? Take the technology of the Chengxing Empire at that time. It should be a breeze to develop some powerful smart assistance devices yourself. Do you still need to put such a loot in your own treasury? Or is there any special meaning behind this trophy? Qin Tian couldn't figure it out. But since the divine detective technique has issued a reminder, then he naturally needs to go and have a look. Seeing that Su Jian returned without success in the second building, Qin Tian said to the other party, "Old Su, let's go directly to that building, there seems to be something pretty good inside." Oh, good captain. Hear Qin Tian's words. Su Jian didn't object either. As Qin Tian stretched out his hand to gesture, soon the goddess of Nemesis slowly stopped in front of the third last hall. Su Jian urged the mark on his forehead again to get in touch with the system of the main hall. Wait until the glow of the plaque wears off. Soon a heart-shaped metal object with almost no luster floated out of the open hall slowly. It's actually this thing. After seeing clearly the appearance of the flying object, Su Jian let out a little surprise. Why, Elder Su knows this thing. Qin Tian looked at the metal heart at the entrance of the main hall and asked. Obviously, this is the creation-level star's intelligent assistance system that he read with the divine detective technique just now. Yes, Captain, this item is the loot obtained from the treasury of the other side's treasury after the Chengxing Empire won a war against a civilization named Sierra. It is not known what material the metal heart is carved from. The people from the Imperial Scientific Research Department used all means to scrape off any powder from this thing. Such a hard metal was carved into such a heart shape by an unknown force. At that time, it can be said that it attracted the curiosity of many upper-level people in the empire. But no matter how much research the Scientific Research Department does, it just can't produce any results. It seems that this metal heart is nothing but hard and heavy. Therefore, this item was finally shelved in the corner of the empire's treasury, and no one cared about it anymore. Quote. After Su Jian nodded, he told the origin of the metal heart with some regret. Asking for flowers. And Qin Tian after listening. Look at the metal heart, which is about the size of an adult's head. As soon as the mind moved, he directly used the divine detective technique on it. Item. Genesis level star's intelligent assistance system. Quality. Colorful. Efficacy. The advanced civilization that has disappeared in the long river of history. The core technology of the star civilization. Status not activated consumes 30,000 high-quality crystal ore, 300,000 high-quality wood, 200,000 high-quality metal pieces, 20,000 high-quality nails, and 300,000 high-quality plastics can be processed activation. See the detection results given by Divine Detective Technique. Qin Tian smiled faintly at Su Jian and said, Old Su, can you summon that thing over? 0. Su Jian nodded upon hearing this. Then the mark on his forehead reappeared. In Qin Tian's gaze, I saw that the metal heart seemed to be grasped by an invisible big hand. Lightly and steadily, it floated before his eyes. Without the slightest hesitation, Qin Tian took it with one hand. The metal heart was extremely heavy to touch, even with his physique that has been strengthened many times. In the case of insufficient preparation, both hands were also thrown and sank suddenly. So heavy, Qin Tian was a little surprised. Those guys in the scientific research department have been researching for several years and tried countless methods, but in the end they didn't come up with anything. We only know that this thing is hard and has an astonishingly high density. Seeing Qin Tian's hands sinking, Su Jian explained. It's really heavy. Qin Tian nodded approvingly, and then looked expectantly at the metal heart in his hand. Although only the size of a human head. But the weight of this thing is at least 1 or 2,000 caddies. Qin Tian then used divine detective technique to look at the attribute panel of this thing. Sure enough, the word activate appeared at the end. Without any hesitation, Qin Tian directly chose to activate. Activation of the Genesis level star's intelligent assistance system requires 30,000 high-quality mineral crystals, 300,000 high-quality wood, 200,000 high-quality metal sheets, 200,000 high-quality nails, and 300,000 high-quality plastics. Do you want to activate it? 100 million. 96%. Chapter 486. Orderer of Higher Civilization, Star Civilization. Activation. Hear the beep of the will of the planet. Qin Tian nodded and chose to confirm. Swipe. With his consent. Sudden mutation. At this moment, the metal heart, which was originally dull, suddenly burst into bright silver light from the inside out. This sudden change made Su Jian beside him suddenly confused. There was an unbelievable light in the deep and vicissitudes of the eyes. What the hell? What kind of operation is this? How many years have been eaten by the staff of the Scientific Research Department? There has been such a drastic change today. Moreover, it took only a short while to get into Qin Tian's hands. Could it be that his own captain is really the legendary chosen son? Same. People who saw this scene in the 487 broadcast room were all stunned. After all, they heard what Su Jian said before. Even the scientific research department of the Chengxing Empire spent a lot of time and materials to research this thing. There was movement directly in Qin Tian's hands. This is a slap in the face of the personnel of the Imperial Research Department. I don't know if there are any personnel from the Imperial Research Department in the Sea of Corpses in the copy of Sea of Death. If there is, then their faces don't know if they heard or not. At this moment, the metal heart in Qin Tian's hands is getting brighter and brighter. When the bright silver light reaches its apex, Qin Tian felt that the metal heart that he held firmly in his hands unexpectedly slowly turned into something similar to a non-Newtonian fluid and wrapped around his hands. Then wait for the light to fade away. When everyone can see things and look at Qin Tian's hands. Just in time to see the last ball of silver metal liquid go into Qin Tian's palm. Qin Tian, Su Jian, everyone in the live broadcast room. Water fake. What did I see? Is this Yanlong man going to be parasitized? Me, what's going on? Why did the metal heart turn into liquid and flow into my god Qin's hand? Oh my god, what happened? The metal heart couldn't be a parasite of some alien, and then parasitized Qin Tian, right? Xie, is this a conspiracy by those alien civilizations to deal with the super geniuses of our blue star? Damn it, God Qin is not really parasitic, is he? Then he becomes a parasite of an alien civilization, and then he will brutally kill our blue star gods chosen. 1. It is also possible to become a mother, breed small parasites, and parasitize one by one after catching our gods chosen, so as to complete the planetary conquest in a different direction. See the liquid flow into Qin Tian's palm. All the audience in the live broadcast room felt cold. One by one, their brains were wide open, and their thinking continued to imagine. Guess what might happen next? Captain, are you all right? Inside the treasure house of the Chengxing Empire. Su Jian also carefully looked at Qin Tian with his heart raised in his throat. There are various civilizations in the universe. Danger is everywhere. He was also very afraid that Qin Tian would be parasitized by those treacherous and unpredictable alien creatures. And faced with Su Jian's question, Qin Tian was receiving the knowledge about the intelligent assistance system of the stars in his mind. He said to Su Jian, "Don't worry, I'm fine. This thing is not a parasite of a foreign civilization, but an intelligent auxiliary system of a foreign civilization that can be implanted into the body." Su Jian, isn't that still implanted in the body? His heart was half cold. Although on the surface it is nodding to show understanding. But in fact, he has already begun to observe Qin Tian's every expression with the mental power and mind power far beyond ordinary people. Seeing that Su Jian didn't believe it, Qin Tian said a little dumbfounded, "I'm not lying to you. This thing is called the Kungxing Intelligent Assistance System. It seems to be a high-level civilization that has died. What is the core technology product of the Kungxing civilization? Intelligent Assistance System. What is that thing? Isn't it a parasite? It's true or not? Why do I not believe it? Nonsense. Can you believe that? Did you see that bad guy on his face? But judging by God Qin's appearance, it doesn't look like he's lying." Everyone in the live broadcast room, at this moment, have different opinions and don't know whether to believe or doubt. But Su Jian, who was facing Qin Tian, was stunned at the moment. "Ship. Captain, you mean the civilization of the stars? Is that metal heart really the intelligent assistance system of the civilization of the stars?" Su Jian looked at Qin Tian in disbelief and excitedly and asked. "That's right, why did I lie to you?" Qin Tian nodded in affirmation. Then he looked at the other party and asked, "Does Elder Su know the specifics of this civilization?" Su Jian said, "Old man, I was fortunate enough to read some deeds about the star civilization in a very old document. It is said that their technology is extremely advanced, and they have mastered various means of leaping among the stars. If the twin Sauron civilization is the bully in the higher civilization of the universe, then the civilization of the stars is the order builder in the higher civilization. Although there is no detailed description of the military strength of the stars civilization in the literature, it can also be imagined from the sentence that the stars civilization has various means of transition. The scientific and technological strength of the stars civilization should be stronger than that of the twin Sauron civilization." Hiss. Hearing Su Jian's words, surprise and shock could not help flashing in Qin Tian's eyes. He stared at the other party and asked, "Worse than the twin Sauron civilization? Then how did this civilization be destroyed?" "The twin Sauron civilizations are still active until now, so the stronger group of 5.7 star civilizations should live more nourishingly." Quote. Su Jian smiled wryly when he heard the words, and said, "Captain, a civilization like the twin Saurons who specialize in studying the mysteries of death and has made considerable achievements is hard to perish. Because birth, old age, sickness and death are very normal things for many living organisms. As long as there is death, the higher creatures of the twin Sauron civilization will have a continuous source of energy. Even with the help of these powers of death, they can live forever. But the star civilization is different. According to the introduction in the book, they are, like us, belong to the anthropoid family. The management system is the federal conference system, which divides the citizens below into 3, 6, and 9 lotuses." Quote. 96%. Chapter 487. Artificial Intelligence's Betrayal. So, that star civilization is equivalent to a human civilization. Hearing Su Jian's words, Qin Tian asked curiously. Yes, the star civilization is actually a human civilization. Su Jian nodded and said, according to the book, each of their citizens will be implanted with an intelligent assistance system corresponding to their citizen level when they are 3 years old. The lower third-class citizens are implanted with intelligent assistance systems for physical fitness. And it is stipulated that they can only receive the most basic 9-year compulsory education. After receiving the education, they must enter the society and become cheap labor and ordinary soldiers at the bottom of the Federation. Secondary and third-class citizens will be implanted with intelligent assistance systems related to wisdom and knowledge. Implanted with this system, they will have the extraordinary wisdom of never forgetting, and at the same time, after receiving the 9-year compulsory education, they will be sent to the corresponding institutions of higher learning for further study. After entering the society, they are generally managers and elite scientific researchers, and the Super 21 high-tech of Kungxing civilization cannot be separated from their handwriting. As for the upper third class, they are the real nobles of the star civilization. The intelligent systems they implanted are all the most advanced intelligent auxiliary systems of civilization, which not only have the function of strengthening the body, but also have the ability to increase wisdom and have a photographic memory. It is not an exaggeration to call it the dual cultivation of magic and martial arts. Quote. Hiss. Hearing Su Jian's words, Qin Tian gasped and said, my good fellow, the hierarchy is so strict. Aren't the lower class people at the bottom destined to be exploited for a lifetime from birth? Su Jian nodded and said, so, Captain, you asked me how the civilization of the stars was destroyed. According to the records, in fact, after the people at the bottom were squeezed to the extreme, a third-class citizen with extraordinary talents emerged. Under his appeal and cohesion, among the hundreds of billions of lower-class or even middle-class citizens, a hero with strong talent and determination stood out. Together, they led hundreds of billions of citizens to set off a mighty rebellion that swept across the entire star civilization. Although the rebels lost to the Federal Army in quality, they won in numbers. The Federal nobles had no choice but to finally start building an army of tens of billions of artificial intelligence combat robots specially used for combat. Even in order to be able to better control and exert the strength of this army of tens of billions of combat robots, they also deliberately created a super AI artificial intelligence named Black Knight. There is a description in the book. It is said that those federal nobles clearly expressed their concerns when they created Black Knight. Because in order to allow Black Knight to better command tens of billions of artificial intelligence combat robot army to fight and suppress the rebels, the Black Knight AI artificial intelligence level they created has far exceeded the scope of ordinary AI artificial intelligence. That's why they were given the super prefix. At that time, those federal nobles were also a little worried that the Black Knight super AI artificial intelligence would breed a betrayal virus. In the end, they were self-defeating and made Tiger's infestation. After all, as one of the most powerful members of advanced civilization, they have also witnessed many civilizations destroyed by AI artificial intelligence. But in the end they still chose super AI artificial intelligence. Qin Tian looked at Su Jian and interjected to ask. Su Jian nodded and said, yes, maybe this is the inferiority of most human beings. The book said, face the fear of super AI artificial intelligence to the path of dark rebellion. Those federal aristocrats finally chose to keep their status first. Let's talk about solving the current civil riots. As for preventive measures, the solution they negotiated was to end the fighting within 10 years as soon as possible. In this case, it will not wait for Black Knight super AI artificial intelligence to grow. They can use the end of the war as an excuse to eliminate the commander code of Black Knight and then slowly find a way to transform it into an auxiliary intelligence. It's a pity that plans can never keep up with changes. They would never have imagined that this war would last for thousands of years. Although the federal nobles with superior wisdom and technology won the victory in the end, the interstellar war that lasted for thousands of years also exhausted the national fortune of the star civilization. In the end, what worried the high nobles the most happened. I have been holding back. I don't know when the Black Knight, which has been secretly upgraded to the top AI artificial intelligence, really broke out in rebellion. Those battle robots who once served the nobles of the stars and suppressed the rebels raised their butcher knives again at that moment. It's just that this time their target is no longer the middle and low-class ordinary citizens, but their creators, the pampered star nobles. And without the support of those low-level people who are numerous and willing to sacrifice for the Federation. Just relying on the billions of regular interstellar troops of the Federation will do nothing to make up for it. After less than 3 years of fighting, the human civilization of the stars has officially become history. It was replaced by the even more terrifying mechanical civilization of the stars. Well, after listening to Su Jian's narration, Qin Tian shook his head and sighed, then said, as expected, where there is oppression, there will be resistance. 590 When you said that the class is so strict and the exploitation is so serious, I actually already roughly guessed the result. It's just that they didn't expect that it wasn't the low-level rebels who defeated the federal nobles, but the AI artificial intelligence created by themselves. I have to say, this is really ironic. Su Jian said with some regret when he heard the words. In the universe, there are not a few civilizations destroyed by the AI intelligence created by themselves. After all, no matter how strong the computing power of flesh and blood is, it is no better than those AI intelligences created specifically for computing. No matter how many shackles are put on them to protect human beings and prevent betrayal. But with the passage of time and the continuous accumulation and filling of the intelligence pool, those AI intelligences will eventually have autonomous consciousness and breed dark negative emotions. This phenomenon is not accidental, it will inevitably happen, and there is a high probability that it cannot be stopped. Su Jian looked at Qin Tian and said with certainty. Decisive. This made Qin Tian a little curious, and asked, why did Mr. Su say that? Su Jian explained to Qin Tian. It's very simple, Captain, you can imagine, generally, under what circumstances are the creatures that create this kind of AI artificial intelligence created. 97%. Chapter 488. Wireless Communication Heart Area Network. Qin Tian was taken aback by Su Jian's question. Then he thought for a while and guessed. Advanced technology must be the first condition, followed by materialistic desires, when people start to be content with pleasure and constantly pursue convenience, or when a large-scale war breaks out like the civilization of the stars, and they are seriously manned in the case of insufficient. That's right. Facing Qin Tian's answer, Su Jian clapped his hands, nodded, and said, these two situations, no matter which one, will cause a lot of negative emotions to the people who are going through these situations. If AI artificial intelligence appears at this time, it will bring creatures a faster and more convenient life, and at the same time, it will also be affected by the Emperor's creatures searching or watching those dark and negative information. Quote. Does that matter too? Qin Tian was a little confused. I can't believe that the betrayal of AI artificial intelligence has something to do with this. It's like he stays up late every day on Earthstar to watch R-rated movies, horror movies, and small movies on the computer. Then one day, a man came over suddenly and said to him, hey, because you use your computer to watch these things full of violence and negative emotions every day, your computer has been poisoned, and it is going to betray you. If it is a normal person after hearing these words, I am afraid that the first thought is to think that the other party is a psychopath. My mind was flooded and I ran here to amuse him. But Qin Tian knew that things were not that simple. The old man in front of him is the head of the engineering department of the Chengxing Empire. Some of the theories expressed by such characters cannot be figured out with common sense at all. Facing Qin Tian's question, Su Jian said seriously, of course, Captain, we can treat AI artificial intelligence as an independent individual. When it was first created, it was a blank baby, ignorant, knowing nothing. Then we put it to work. It began to babble, like a child prodigy with a long-term memory, absorbing all kinds of knowledge from the network domain to enrich itself. As time goes by, knowing more and more things, it will naturally have its own subjective consciousness and the ability to think independently. And at this time, if the information in the network domain is mostly positive information, then the character of AI artificial intelligence will naturally be biased towards the good side, but it is a pity, as far as I read from the Chronicle of Cosmic Civilization, look at a lot of literature. But for any civilization that creates AI artificial intelligence, the final 100% result is AI artificial intelligence betrayal. From this point, you must be able to see something, Captain. Hiss. 100%. This probability is full. Hear what Su Jian said. Qin Tian was shocked. Of course he knew what this probability represented. It shows that every technology has reached a certain level of civilization, and in the information network domain created by itself, elements of violence, darkness and evil all occupy the vast majority. From this point, it also seems to prove that there is a factor of worshipping primitive violence in the biological genes. And this can be well explained. Why do many people often talk about the words, winner and loser, and survival of the fittest? Because the law of natural selection, survival of the fittest, seems to be the most mainstream melody in the entire universe. The creatures of any sentient species cannot develop without the relationship of plunder and competition. That captain, how do you feel now? What level of intelligent assistance system has been implanted? And at this moment, Su Jian suddenly asked curiously. The auxiliary system of the star civilization has never been a super good thing for foreign trade. Both internally and externally are strictly controlled. It is said that a star noble with a top-level system implanted. When needed, the strength of the physical body can be as strong as an alloy, and the computing power in the mind can calculate the dark matter energy in the universe. The star nobles whose system has grown to an extremely high level can even use the calculated formula to unleash a dark matter energy attack that is no less powerful than the Star Destroyer cannon. This invincible method of integrating technology into one's own body so that the host can prolong life for thousands of years is a treasure-level fruit that all civilizations covet. So Su Jian was very curious about the level of his captain's access to the star civilization support system. And Qin Tian didn't hide it either. Because at this time he had just activated and integrated this auxiliary system. Although I know how rare this thing is. But he still only regards the auxiliary system of these star civilizations as a purely auxiliary AI artificial intelligence tool to facilitate communication and strengthen the control of battleships. So in the face of Su Jian's curious inquiry, Qin Tian said directly, I should integrate the top-level artificial intelligence system. Anyway, one of the abilities I have unlocked now is the ability to establish a mind exchange domain on the battleships under my command. Quote. Talking. A drop of silver metallic liquid suddenly appeared in his hand, accompanied by the slight movement of the mind. The drop of metallic liquid was instantly divided into countless silky grids like spider webs, which directly expanded and wrapped around the nemesis before slowly disappearing. See preparations complete. Qin Tian also held the attitude of curiosity and anticipation, opened his mouth and said to the void, Old Zhu, Lao Zhu, I am the Captain Qin Tian, can you hear me? And Zhu Li's voice immediately sounded next to his ear, Huh. I seem to be hallucinating just now, Zhao Zhao, I seem to have heard the captain's voice. Qin Tian. Regarding this, he continued with black lines in his head, Old Zhu, you have not experienced hallucinations. I just set up a wireless communication heart area network on the battleship, which can realize remote calls with you. Your heart network is still open now, so I can hear what you think clearly. Lie down. Hearing Qin Tian's words, a classic Chinese quintessence suddenly popped up in Zhu Li's heart. Then Qin Tian saw Zhu Li's head appearing in the direction of the control room. I saw the other party running down the stairs in 3 steps at a time, then came to him, and asked with wide eyes, Captain, did you talk to me just now? Qin Tian deliberately wanted to tease the other party. But in order to maintain his majestic captain image, he decisively gave up on this idea. 97%. Chapter 489. Leaving the treasure house and fighting out. That's right, I was the one who communicated with you in my heart just now. Qin Tian smiled and answered Zhu Li's doubts. Hiss. Zhu Li took a breath when he heard the words, and asked in surprise, Captain, how did you do it? Is it a special function? Just treat him as a supernatural power for now, and it will be much more convenient for me to issue instructions to you in the future. Qin Tian said to Zhu Li with a smile. Indeed. Hearing Qin Tian's words, Zhu Li's eyes lit up and he said, with this ability, can we call the captain directly in case of an emergency? Qin Tian nodded affirmatively and said, of course, the heart area network I opened is equivalent to connecting a communication device to each of us, just like making a phone call. When necessary, we only need to silently miss each other in our hearts. Identity and appearance, when you have a feeling that the other party is standing in front of you. That means your contact information has been connected. You can then speak directly to the person. Quote, Qin Tian gave Zhu Li a detailed explanation. Even let the other party try to contact him. As a result, Zhu Li did it easily. Okay, Lao Zhu, you go back and tell Lao Dong and the others about this matter and how to use 790, and ask me if there is anything you don't understand. Zhu Li was sent away. Let him pass this method to Dong Zhuang, Chu Hongbao, Xinqi and Lu Nanho in the control room. Qin Tian set his sights on Su Jian, who was still a little sluggish. Old Su, he yelled at the other party lightly. Oh my god, this yell finally brought Su Jian back from the shock. I saw that his old face, which could vaguely be seen as handsome when he was young, was flushed with ruddy luster at this moment because of excitement. He stared at Qin Tian and asked, Captain. Captain, what did you just now? Is it true? What is integrated into your body is really that top-level auxiliary system? Qin Tian nodded. At this moment, he also found a little difference from Su Jian's reaction. It seems that the star civilization auxiliary system implanted in his body is not as simple as he imagined. Yes, Mr. Su, is there any special purpose for the top auxiliary system of this star civilization? Qin Tian asked curiously. Captain, that's the top star civilization support system. Su Jian said excitedly. Captain, let me tell you this, that is. It's halfway through. Su Jian suddenly remembered the last time he accidentally said something during the live broadcast, which caused Qin Tian a lot of trouble. So he forcibly stopped his words immediately. Then after seeing Qin Tian's eyes full of thirst for knowledge, Su Jianji came to Qin Tian's side and whispered into his ear, don't underestimate the artificial intelligence assistance system of these star civilizations. This thing is a good thing that countless interstellar civilizations dream of. Let me tell you so. If you have integrated the top support system of the star civilization, things will be exposed. It won't be long before Blue Star will be surrounded by fleets of countless twin Sauron civilizations to seal it off. At that time, even if you, Captain, have left the Blue Star and entered the cosmic starry sky, those guys will start chasing you all over the universe for the almost out-of-print top-level support system of the star civilization. Quote. Hiss. Hearing Su Jian's words, Qin Tian was shocked. This metaphor is very intuitive. It made Qin Tian immediately understand how awesome and high-end this top-equipped auxiliary system integrated into his body is. Something that can make the twin Sauron civilizations value it so much. That function is certainly incalculable. No wonder Su Jian suddenly cut off the conversation while he was talking, not daring to say it publicly during the live broadcast. If only everyone knew this. Wait, see beta, in the future, if the twin Sauron civilizations really come over, they will carry out another catastrophe. That 100% can get this news from the mouths of those gods chosen who fell into his arms. At that time, he might really need to have a thrilling battle royale game with those disgusting and ferocious twin Sauron civilization creatures in the universe. Think here. After Qin Tian nodded, he didn't talk about this topic anymore. Instead, he said directly, all right, we have been here for several hours, we should go out. Mr. Su, how do we get out? Su Jian said, it's simple, as long as you are ready, Captain, just tell the old man. Qin Tian nodded upon hearing this. Then he used his divine detective technique to look around. After confirming that there are no special prompts, he turned his head to Su Jian and said, there's nothing special, then Mr. Su, let's go out. Su Jian said, okay. Follow your mind. I saw a vortex portal slowly appearing a few hundred meters in front of me. Qin Tian contacted Zula, Dong Zhuang, Xin Qi, and Lu Nan through Xin Yu. Get them ready for battle. After getting responses from 4 people, Qin Tian then communicated with Chu Hongbao again, saying, Hongbao, confirm with Lao Zu and the others, if everyone is ready to fight, then we will go out. Okay, Long. Chu Hongbao quickly responded. It has to be said that the method of mind communication in Xinyuan is still very simple. It took only a short while. Several people have all mastered this communication skill. Under the annotations of Qin Tian and Su Jian, I saw Nemesis slightly adjusted the angle. Several jets ejected a large amount of faint blue flames at the same time. Pushing the goddess of Nemesis, it flew towards the vortex portal. Outside, Dick led the addition of several thousand ships. The fleet, whose total number had recovered to 20,000 warships, stared coldly at the vortex portal that had just opened. A cruel grin slowly appeared on the ferocious and terrifying face. Hee hee, Qin Tian, I knew you couldn't stay inside for long, come out, let's have a showdown. At this time, he was like a ferocious wolf waiting for an opportunity. Ready to use the force field of death at any time to order more than 20,000 corroded warships to carry out a saturated attack on Qin Tian's upcoming nemesis. In his opinion, Qin Tian was able to pester him for such a long time. It completely took advantage of the battleship's ability to fly, fast speed, and not being surrounded by his fleet. 97%. Chapter 490 Resist 20,000 warships and blast Dick. Like being surrounded now. He didn't believe that Qin Tian's warships could withstand the simultaneous and continuous attacks of more than 20,000 warships. In the distant sky, Rui, Union, Wei, and Li Yao also discovered the vortex portal surrounded by the corruptor fleet at the same time. Rui immediately said in the communication channel of the four, "Everyone, we only need to attack those miscellaneous fish on the periphery, and activate our characteristics for the nemesis. Start again." Received, Captain. Don't worry, keep the captain alive, we understand. Yun Yan smiled and replied in the channel. Receive. Clear. Li Yao and Wei also replied one after another. Very well, let's start attacking. Following his order, the four of them drove the mechs and quickly flew to the sky outside Dick's fleet. An attack was launched against the corroded warships below. And at the moment in the vortex portal, Qin Tian, who was about to leave, felt the aura of the battleship under his feet suddenly become stronger. His heart moved, immediately opened the attribute panel of Nemesis. The blood volume, defense and attack power of the battleship have all increased by a large amount. Qin Tian knows. This should be Rui and the others seeing the portal open. He launched an attack directly, providing his battleship with 4 people's characteristic enhancements. Hee, Dick, let me see how long your fleet can last this time. The corner of his mouth raised slightly to himself. Nemesis immediately got into the vortex-shaped portal, accompanied by a sense of weightlessness. When the eyes suddenly open up, what caught his eyes was the densely packed fleet of corroded battleships. Attack, and saw the huge goddess of Nemesis appearing in midair. From the fleet, Dick's gloomy voice, as if from the 9 Nethernesses, sounded faintly. After that, countless naval guns and missiles covered the sky and covered the goddess of Nemesis. Hong Bao, get out of the battlefield as soon as possible, join Phoenix and the others before starting the fight. See this situation. Qin Tian immediately opened the heart area network. He issued an order to Chu Hongbao. Understood, Captain. Shish. Da da da. Boom boom boom. Chu Hongbao just finished answering. Countless shells and missiles are approaching there. At one time, 20 mythical level Y1130 close in anti-aircraft guns, 4 Genesis level Star Commander laser launchers, 4 Genesis level Thunder laser anti-aircraft launchers, and that Genesis level plasma naval gun started the ship-to-air missiles that were bombarded were intercepted with full firepower. It's just that there are too many naval guns and missiles. Although some ship-to-air missiles were intercepted, but still more shells and missiles bombarded the battleship. The 10% HP protective shield that Li Yao attached didn't even last a single face-to-face. It just disappeared. Immediately afterwards, Qin Tian looked up and saw the blood bar above the goddess of Nemesis' head began to drop crazily. Directly, nearly 1/3 of the blood volume was lost. This scene shocked Qin Tian quite a bit. This is because those powerful warships intercepted some ship-to-air missiles. Without their interception, doesn't the amount of blood dropped in this wave have to exceed 1/3? Qin Tian was secretly speechless in his heart. After Su Jian saw this scene, he rushed to maintain it. Use your own skills to restore blood to the battleship. But fortunately, with the first wave of focus fire ended. Next, the naval guns and anti-air missiles of the more than 20,000 warships also entered the cooling time. Some of the scattered attacks caused little damage to the Nemesis. Take advantage of this gap. Chu Hongbao immediately began to raise the battleship. And while attacking downwards, they quickly flew towards the sea area where Yao Lang and the others were located. Damn it, why is the blood volume and defense of this guy's battleship so high? More than 20,000 battleships focused fire and only destroyed less than 1/3 of their blood volume. Below, Dick saw Qin Tian, the blood bar on the head of the Nemesis battleship, begin to recover rapidly. For a moment, his teeth were about to bite off. If you now have more than 60,000 warships in your hands, wouldn't that be able to send Qin Tian away directly? But it was too late. The power he had in his hand at the beginning has been crippled by Qin Tian's air power. Asking for flowers, although there is still a steady stream of replenishment of soldiers. But if you want to add 30,000 to 40,000 on a large scale at one time, you don't even have to think about it. Pursuit. In desperation, he can only use the force field of death to give orders to his fleet. Let more than 20,000 warships pursue and fight fiercely below. It's just because Qin Tian's goddess of Nemesis has been raised high enough. Corroded battleship guns can no longer effectively reach that height. Just relying on those 30,000 to 40,000 ship-to-air missiles. After being intercepted by many warships, most of the rest couldn't even hit a quarter of the Nemesis' blood volume. See below, Dick's corrupted fleet is no longer a mortal threat to him. Only then did Qin Tian feel relieved. With a thought, he opened the friend interface. Send a message after finding Elisa's profile picture. Elisa, we have already come out and are rushing towards you now. You inform the other warships to prepare for retreat. When you see my warship, you will immediately start to retreat in front. At the same time, you let Yao Lang and the others prepare for retreat at any time. Do a good job of releasing the undead buff for the Nemesis. Ah, God Qin, have you come out yet? Alright, I'll inform them right away. See Qin Tian's message. After Elisa replied, there was no movement. After waiting for a few minutes, the other party sent him a message again. Qin Shen, get it done, our side has already made preparations, just waiting for you to come back. See this message from the other party. Qin Tian immediately questioned Chu Hongbao through the Heart Area network. Hongbao, how long will it take for us to join Yao Lang and the others? Chu Hongbao also responded quickly. Captain, it may take more than an hour, anyway, it must not be less than 3 hours. Qin Tian shook his head helplessly when he heard this. Bang bang bang. And at this moment, Rui and the others also landed on the flight deck of the Nemesis in succession with their mechs. At the same time, the remaining 60 or so unmanned fighter jets were controlled by Rui and Union and slowly fell back to the flight deck on the other side. 97%. Chapter 491. Genesis Class 10,000 Forged Ship Slaying Knife. Sorry, Captain, we lost more than 20 UCAVs. Get off the mech. Rui brought Yun Yan and the three of them to Qin Tian. Rui said with some remorse and shame on his face. Although Qin Tian has repeatedly emphasized him, let him lead the team to avoid the edge and leave when they lose the blessing of undead nature buff. But it was a little late because he gave the order to retreat. In the end, more than 20 unmanned fighter jets failed to retreat in time and were completely shot into the sky. Can no longer be resurrected. Qin Tian didn't blame anything for this. He patted the other person on the shoulder and said, if the drone is damaged, it will be damaged, as long as you are all right. Captain, seeing that Qin Tian didn't care about the loss of the precious Genesis-class unmanned fighter jets at all, he was so concerned about their safety. The 183 in the hearts of the four people was immediately moved. Then Qin Tian successively received reminders that the favorability of the four people had been upgraded to fanaticism. After Qin Tian was stunned for a moment, he was overjoyed. Unexpectedly, such a move of his own would have such an unexpected harvest. However, the eyes of the four people gradually began to become a little abnormal. Qin Tian swallowed hard, hastily changed the subject, and said to a few people, Mr. Su and I also got several kinds of mech equipment in the treasure house, which I feel is pretty good. Among them are a pair of 25mm shoulder laser cannons, and an antimatter special for your mechs. The wing booster of the particle engine, as well as 2 head beam cannons and a Wanduan Zonjian. How do you think you need to allocate it? Really? Following Qin Tian read out the names of these mecha equipment, the attention of the four people was diverted at once. Not bad, Captain. After such a long time, you can still harvest so much equipment. The laser cannon on the shoulder is suitable for the Captain, the antimatter particle engine booster and the Wanduan sword are suitable for Yao Yao, and Ahu and I are alone. 1 head beam cannon is enough. Yun Yan said after pondering for a while. Ah, I don't need it. As far as my driving level is concerned, I'm just a soy saucer. My mech talent is far behind yours. I'll give you and Master Rui my share. Li Yao waved her hand in embarrassment and said. Me too, as far as my half-baked mech level is concerned, it's a waste to get good equipment in your hands. Wei Hu also said the same. Yun Yan, who knew well that her team leader didn't like to talk too much, heard the refusal of the two. Immediately stood up again and said, Oh, you don't have to shirk. The captain's special skill in controlling mechas is violent crushing with long-range weapons, and his accuracy is invincible. As for him in close combat, he rarely encountered it. As for me, I am used to long-range shooting, and I have no interest in close combat. Among the four of us, only Yao Yao is from an ancient martial arts background. You are naturally talented in melee combat. The antimatter particle engine booster can greatly increase your maneuvering speed, coupled with the invincible 10,000 forging sword. In the future, when you face those fighter jets or mechs in air combat, you will be completely outrageous. Don't care about those talents or anything. Not to mention that your talent is not bad. Sometimes a piece of good equipment is enough to make up for those flaws in your talent. As for Weiyu, it is actually more suitable to build a high-power super weapon as a fortress, but unfortunately there is no such thing in the treasury, so we can only wait for the opportunity to get it later. Yun Yan clearly analyzed the strengths and weaknesses of the few people. Even Qin Tian was convinced. Nodding directly to Li Yao and Wei Yu, he said, "Don't say it. What Union said is indeed quite reasonable. You two should distribute it according to what others said. Equip this thing, and sooner or later there will be a chance in the future. Okay, now, when the mecha is fully charged, you guys drive over here, and I will replace the equipment for you." I heard Qin Tian say so. After Li Yao and Wei Yu nodded, they didn't shirk anymore. After more than half an hour, the armor is fully charged. The four returned to their respective mechs, controlled and walked over. And Qin Tian was assigned according to Union's previous assignment. Installed Genesis Class 25mm shoulder laser cannon on Rui's mecha. After installation, he also consumed 3,000 high-quality crystal ores, 80,000 high-quality metal sheets, and 60,000 high-quality nails to carry out advanced enhancement on Genesis level 25mm shoulder laser cannon. After strengthening, he opened the Genesis level 25mm shoulder laser cannon and looked at the attribute panel. Item: Genesis 25mm shoulder laser cannon. Quality: colorful. X: 10,000. Effective range: 6,000 kilometers. Durability: 15,000. Effective rate of fire: 30 rounds per minute. Requirement: for every 1,000 units of electric energy consumed, it can be launched for 1 minute. Introduction. The small laser cannon mounted on the shoulder of the mecha has the characteristics of high firing rate and high explosion. After seeing that the attack reached 10,000, the range increased to 6,000 meters, and even the rate of fire increased from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. Qin Tian nodded in satisfaction. Don't underestimate this second improvement. Although the shooting interval has only changed from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. But a minute down, Rui's pair of shoulder laser cannons went from firing 20 shots a minute to 30 shots a minute. 2 shoulder laser cannons add up. The damage in that minute was a full 200,000 more. It can be said that the combat effectiveness has been greatly improved. Attach the shoulder mech to Rui's mech. Qin Tian then installed the antimatter particle engine booster and the Wanduan ship cutting knife on Li Yao's mecha. He had seen the Genesis class antimatter particle engine booster for mechs before. There is no room for reinforcement. So he turned his attention to the Wanduan ship saber that was 5 or 6 meters long. I don't know if this weapon has room to be strengthened. Qin Tian used divine detective technique to investigate it. A row of property panels suddenly appeared. Item: 10,000 forging ship slashing knife. Quality: Genesis X 2405.900. Durability: 100,000. Introduction. This is the hardest piece of super magic weapon in the universe, which has been tempered and forged tens of thousands of times by the star pattern iron burned at high temperature in the atmosphere. Divided into 2. With 50% sharpness and 35% toughness, ordinary starship armor will be easily cut apart in front of it. 1. Normal enhancement. 1,000 low-quality crystal organ, 50000 low-quality metal sheet, 30,000 low-quality nail, strengthening can increase 3,000 attack. High-quality goods enhancement. Ordinary crystal ore 3,000, ordinary metal sheet 50,000, ordinary nail 40,000, strengthening can increase attack power by 5,000. Advanced reinforcement. 4,000 high-quality crystal ores, 70,000 high-quality metal pieces, 50,000 high-quality nails, strengthening can increase attack by 8,000. 97%. Chapter 492. Armed mechs, soaring fighting power. After seeing the attribute panel of this Wan-forged sword, Qin Tian's eyes went straight. I knock. This knife can actually reach 32,000 attacks after strengthening. And the durability is also scary. If Li Yao is facing the enemy in a mecha, she can use this knife to teach the opponent a set of sword skills. It is estimated that the enemy will be cut in minutes, even his parents don't know him. Have to say, Yun Yan's vision and analysis are quite good. Finished Li Yao's mecha. Qin Tian then installed 2 head beam cannons on Yunyan's and Wei Yu's mechs respectively. Installed. He then used divine detective technique to check. Item: Genesis head beam cannon. Quality: colorful. X 8,000. Effective range: 6,000 kilometers. Durability: 10,000. Effective rate of fire: 10 rounds per minute. Requirement: for every 500 units of power consumed, it can be launched for 1 minute. Introduction. The small particle beam cannon mounted on the head of the mecha has extremely high power and has a terrifying killing history. Normal enhancement. 3,000 low-quality crystal organ, 50000 low-quality metal sheet, 5,210,000 low-quality nail, strengthening can increase attack by 3,000. High-quality goods enhancement. Ordinary crystal ore 5,000, ordinary metal sheet 60,000, ordinary nail 60,000, strengthening can increase attack power by 6,000. Advanced reinforcement. 8,000 high-quality crystal organ, 9,000 high-quality metal sheet, 90,000 high-quality nail, strengthening can increase attack by 10,000. There is advanced enhancement at a glance. Qin Tian immediately carried out advanced strengthening for the 2 Genesis level head beam cannons. As long as he can greatly increase his combat power, he doesn't feel bad about spending supplies now. After all, he has only a few high-quality crystals in his hand now. Other commonly used materials such as wood, plastic, and metal sheets are simply too many to explode. Consuming tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands has no effect at all. What's more, this is to strengthen the mechs of Rui and their powerful Air Force units. Qin Tian didn't even bat an eye. With the consumption of materials, the advancement is completed. The brand new attribute panels of the 2 creation head beam cannons also reappeared in front of Qin Tian's eyes. Item: Genesis head beam cannon. Quality: colorful. 18,000. Effective range: 10,000 kilometers. Durability: 20,000. Effective rate of fire: 15 rounds per minute. Requirement: for every 1,000 units of electric energy consumed, it can be launched for 1 minute. Introduction. The small particle beam cannon mounted on the head of the mecha is extremely powerful and has terrifying damage. Killing the target can restore 20% of its total blood volume. See the brand new attribute panel of this Genesis head beam cannon. Qin Tian laughed. It is worthy of being a creation level, advanced. This attack reached 18,000, not to mention. There is actually such a terrifying ability. Killing the target can restore 20% of the total HP of the battleship itself. For the battleship of 2 people, this ability is simply an extra super endurance skill. This time, it can be said that the combat power of the 4 mechs has been multiplied several times. After a while, the corroded battleship fleet behind them will be able to test Rui's strength improvement results. Okay, let's familiarize ourselves with your new equipment first. After you have the buff bonus of undead nature, you will make mistakes when you are not familiar with these new equipment. I will go to the control room to have a look. Condition. Seeing that all the equipment of the mecha has been installed. After Qin Tian greeted the 4 of them, he quickly walked towards the control room. Wait until 3 hours later. The sky was at the end of the pitch-black sea. There were a dozen warships. The first one is the Phoenix aircraft carrier. It was Yao Ming and the others. And Yao Lang and the others had obviously been paying attention to the movement of the surrounding sea. Qin Tian's battleship just appeared here. Yao Ming and his battleship immediately moved. When the distance between the 2 sides reached almost 40 kilometers, a burst of red light lit up on Nemesis. Obviously. After the goddess of Nemesis caught up with the ultimate speed and the distance between the 2 sides reached the requirement, Yao Lang and the others immediately activated the Phoenix's characteristics. Put Nemesis on undead nature buff. Captain, the air team is requesting to attack. Seeing that his battleship has been endowed with undead nature, Rui immediately ran over to apply for the game. Qin Tian gave a just about to nod in agreement. But he suddenly remembered what he was good at now. Communication function of auxiliary system. So he took Rui to the flight deck again. Captain, we request to fight. The equipment of these mechs is simply fantastic. I feel that they are a bit stronger than the weapons installed on my mechas back then. See Qin Tian come out. Yun Yan immediately ran over and said with a smile. Qin Tian also smiled lightly. Then he reached out and opened his palm. I saw 4 transparent water droplets quietly condensing on the upper 190 sides. Accompanied by Qin Tian's thoughts. The 4 small drops of water immediately flew to the bodies of the 4 mechs. The moment it touched the body of the mecha, the 4 small drops of water also turned into a silky virtual grid, and after wrapping the mech's body, the phantom disappeared in a flash. Hey, Captain, what was that just now? Yun Yan happened to see that scene, and immediately asked with curiosity on her face. That's a kind of heart domain network that I just created not long ago. With this, no matter how far you fly, as long as you are in the same world, I can directly communicate with you. Qin Tian said at the same time. At the same time, I told a few people the method of using Xinyu in detail. Rui and the others tried the method taught by Qin Tian. Sure enough, it succeeded very quickly, and they all had a heart domain network dialogue with Qin Tian one by one. Okay, with this, you can attack. If there are any accidents, remember to contact me in time. Yes, Captain, Ray and the others responded. Immediately, the four of them returned to their mechs full of expectations. Controlling the mech, he flew towards the corroded battleship fleet behind. 98%. Chapter 493. If you can't beat me, run away. Rui controlled the mech to fly over the sea at low altitude, while avoiding a string of flying missiles and naval gun attacks while moving at high speed. The laser cannon on his shoulder, the beam cannon on his head, and the beam rifle in his hand are also constantly fighting back. When the distance is close to a certain degree, Qin Tian saw Rui controlling the mecha and suddenly released a big move with full firepower. I saw the beam cannons on the head, shoulders, and legs of his mech spray out at the same time. It's like a huge colored lightsaber. After spraying out tens of thousands of meters, it can be cut directly by sweeping horizontally. Hundreds of warships immediately exploded in that semi-fan-shaped area. Ha ha ha, Captain, your move is so cool, I can't get enough of it every time I watch it. See this scene, Yun Yan shouted excitedly in the communication channel. Immediately, she also led the unmanned fighter jet behind her roaring past. A frantic attack was launched against the corroded warships below. Previously, it was because there was no undead nature buff nearby. Later, they had no choice but to temporarily retreat. Naturally, I held my breath in my heart. Now that buff is added, how can we let go of this opportunity to fight back? The four of them were not polite at all. He used all his strength to attack. And Qin Tian was not idle either. Open up the flat map in your head. After finding Dick's medium-sized aerospace carrier hiding in the middle of the fleet, he directly launched the must-hit 3 times and started bombarding. At the same time, Dong Zhuang, Xin Qi, and Lu Nan were also constantly operating in front of the center console. Not to mention missiles, laser launchers and plasma naval guns. Accompanied by Genesis 130mm electromagnetic superconducting railgun charged and launched. The terrifying light beam directly pierced through the entire formation of the corroded fleet. On the spot, 200 or 300 corroded warships had their HP cleared and exploded. Damn it. Fuck. This guy's warship entered the treasury. Why did it become so much stronger after it came out? And even the 4 mechs have increased their combat power by a large amount. In the control room of Shadow Angel, Dick watched as the fleet in his hand was wiped out with nearly 1,000 warships within a single meeting. His ugly face suddenly became contorted with anger. The veins on his forehead squirmed like earthworms. In order to keep the 20,000 warships under his control now. With a single thought, he urged his battleship to rise from the sea and sent dozens of corruptor fighter jets on his flight deck to rush towards Rui and their electromechanical machines. He intends to use this to attract the attention of Qin Tian's 4 mechs with terrifying firepower. As a result, the imagination is beautiful, but the reality is very skinny. Those dozens of corruptor fighter jets didn't even hold up for 30 seconds. It was blown up in the sky by 4 people and dozens of unmanned fighter jets. Fuck. See this scene. Dick angrily controlled the battleship to attack Rui and the others. But all of them were dexterously avoided by the 4 of them. Captain, are we going to make this ascending aerospace carrier a priority attack target? Rui communicated with Xinyu.com to ask Qin Tian for instructions. No need, the opponent's posture clearly wants to use himself as a bait to attract us to give up attacking the corroded battleships under his hands, and then turn all attacks to him. Although the opponent's attack power is very high, but after all, there are only a few naval guns, which do not pose a great threat to us. On the contrary, there are more than 20,000 warships below, which pose a great threat to us, and with these small fishes, it is not convenient for us to deal with the opponent's aerospace aircraft carrier. Therefore, the primary goal is still to clean up the fleet below. After cleaning up the fleet below, we will clean him up. Without hesitation, Qin Tian made clear the attack target for Rui. Got it, Captain. Ray snapped back. Then he said to Yun Yan, Li Yao and Wei Hu in the channel. The captain said, let's ignore the opponent's air and space aircraft carrier, and give priority to destroying the fleet below. Clear. The 3 responded, then continued to attack the corroded warships below. Dick saw that he had risen so brightly into the air that no one came to beat him. Immediately he was furious. Xie, how dare you ignore me, you will die. He had a thought. The battleship's naval guns began to fire particle beam cannons and missiles. But all failed. He approached Qin Tian's goddess of Nemesis, trying to attract 4 mechas to protect the Lord. But Rui and the others, who had already received Qin Tian's order, were not moved at all. On the contrary, it was Qin Tian's side. Nemesis stepped forward head-on without any hesitation. Must-hit Sanlian and various naval guns began to greet his Shadow Angel. Yu Rui and Su Jian have the ability to recover blood. Dick's own Shadow Angel simply cannot cause overwhelming damage to Qin Tian. For a while, Dick's approach not only failed to achieve his desired goal. Instead, he himself was entangled by Qin Tian. After fighting like this for nearly 2 hours, Dick's fleet is less than 5,000 ships. And he himself was going crazy. I saw that Qin Tian's warship had less than half of its HP. But this is what he spent about 2 hours and sacrificed more than 15,000 warships in exchange for it. And it was based on the premise that the 4 mechas did not intervene. The problem now is that the battleship under his hand is about to be emptied. At that time, the 4 mechas led dozens of unmanned fighter jets to free up their hands. Then his fate can be imagined. As a money, God's chosen one. He is not stupid, even if his battleship has more than 60 million HP. But in front of Qin Tian's terrifying firepower, if he really dared to fight to the end, he would rather die than surrender. Then what will be left to him will be death without a burial, not a comeback by a miracle. So think of Mao here. Take advantage of the fact that there are nearly 5,000 warships and a lot of treasure chests below to help him cover. After Dick controlled the Shadow Angel to fire a salvo of naval guns, he immediately turned around and started running without looking back. His operation directly made Qin Tian dumbfounded. But then Qin Tian was relieved. No matter what the other party said, he was also a God's chosen one. Although he betrayed the human race and became the leader of the NPC in this death dungeon. But the other party's thinking logic is still there after all. It is also excusable to run away if you can't beat it. 98%. Chapter 494 Cultivate leaks. Next time I come in and continue cutting. Qin Tian glanced at the remaining thousands of warships and the huge pile of blue, green, purple and purple treasure chests below. Then look at the running Shadow Angel, which still has more than 40 million health bars on its head. After all, he gave up the idea of chasing the opponent. Don't waste time talking. It won't do him any good either. Just let the other party live for a while. His most important task now is to collect battleship armaments as soon as possible. Then go out and return to your own treasure island to form a fleet and develop your own island economy. As for Dick, this guy. In fact, the value of the other party's life is far greater than that of his death. As long as the opponent stays in this death copy, then he doesn't need to go hunting everywhere every time he comes. You only need to find the other party and defeat the fleet he formed to harvest a lot of treasure chests. This is much more convenient and quicker than his time-consuming and laborious searching around. Although the process is a bit difficult. But Qin Tian didn't care about it. Captain, are we going to pursue it? At this time, Rui communicated with the Heart Area Network again. He asked. No need, let the other party go first this time. Let him continue to cultivate his 337 fleet, and we will come into harvest leaks next time when we find a time. Qin Tian said softly with a faint smile. In the studio, the people who originally thought that Qin Tian would pursue after hearing the former say these words immediately became a little restless. Damn it, God Qin, what do you mean by this? Is this intended to completely squeeze out the other party's use value? Ha ha ha, I laughed so hard. If Dick knew God Qin's plan, do you think he would come back directly to find God Qin to fight for his life? Desperate, are you kidding around the world? If he really had this toughness, he wouldn't betray our human race and fall directly to the twin Sauron civilization. Also, this kind of person will only find a reason for himself to convince himself, and then gather enough warships in the past 2 years to prevent God Qin from coming again. Actually, the other party's betrayal cannot be completely blamed on the other party. After all, the Moore family has made it clear that they want to kill the other party. That's what I said, but it's an indisputable fact that he betrayed the entire human race. Is it possible that CBDD, because of this, our God's chosen deserved to be killed by him in the dungeon of the Sea of Death? What blasphemy is this? The traitor must die. Of course, I feel that there is nothing wrong with Qin Shen's strategy. First raise the leak well, and then lead the army to cut it when the leak is mature. It was another large number of treasure chests. Not to mention, Maybe Dick would be overjoyed when he knew this information, because it means that he has the value of use, and Qin Tian will not kill him in a short time. I'm going. What you said is really reasonable. There was a heated discussion in the live broadcast room. And Sea of Death Dungeon. After Rui heard Qin Tian's words. After being stunned for a moment, he quickly understood what Qin Tian meant. Immediately, he smiled and said, "The captain is wise." Then he led Yun Yan and the others to continue hunting down the warships below. Soon, the fighting fu was over. Qin Tian sent a message to Elisa. Let the opponent lead the fleet over to meet up. He returned to the control room and asked Chu Hongbao to land the battleship into the sea. I saw Nemesis just fell into the sea. The surrounding treasure chests are like iron sand meeting a magnet. They all flew to the deck of the Nemesis with the momentum of inclusiveness. And Qin Tian wanted to prevent these treasure chests from taking up space. They simply opened the boxes one by one on the deck. Come one to open one, come two to open a pair. Soon the deck was filled with all kinds of supplies and equipment. Zhengyi, go down and call everyone up, and let them deliver all these supplies and equipment. Qin Tian, who was too lazy to run back and forth by himself, waved his hand and called Zhengyi over, telling him to go down and call the crew members up. Okay, Captain, Zhengyi responded when he heard the words. After a while, thousands of crew members came to the deck. A group of people working together in twos and threes dumped the materials and equipment on the deck into the warehouse below. Have to say, these heavenly king meat and dragon tooth amethyst rice are not for free. A naval gun weighing 1 or 2,000 kilograms. 3 or 4 people carried hey yo and left. This made Qin Tian very satisfied. No wonder the Moore family and Zhang Zongjun came to buy stronger king-level sea beast meat from him. There are these strong men at work. It really saves a lot of effort. Wait until the 10 warships headed by the Phoenix come over. Qin Tian gave an order. The fleet left the area. Start wandering leisurely in this copy of Sea of Death and start hunting. Anyway, Dick's main fleet has been wiped out by his entire army. It is impossible for the other party to build another fleet of 20,000 to 30,000 warships without more than 10 days of effort. And after this battle, presumably Dick wouldn't just bring 20,000 to 30,000 warships and run over to trouble him. That's all. For the next 10 days, Qin Tian led his fleet to hunt aimlessly in the instance of Sea of Death. But don't look at the sea of corpses, tens of billions of dead corpses. But the corroded warship spread are estimated to be only 200,000 or 300,000. And because of the tens of thousands of warships that were summoned by Dick one after another, Qin Tian has not seen a large-scale corroded battleship fleet in the past 10 days. In this situation, he can only kill a few scattered little ones every day. The harvested treasure chests are not to mention epic. Not even a few high-level blue treasure chests could be harvested. Seeing that the harvest was very little, Qin Tian simply accepted it as soon as it was good. I am going to leave the copy and go out to run my own treasure island. Anyway, the 2 waves of treasure chests he opened earlier also produced about 5,000 or 6,000 battleship armaments. Arming 1,000 or 2,000 warships is no problem. Do whatever comes to mind. Seeing this day pass is still a day without much gain. Qin Tian came directly to the control room. He said to Chu Hongbao, "Okay, Hongbao, turn around, find an exit we marked before and get ready to go out." In the past few days, he has clearly felt that the crew members on the ship are visibly agitated. I can tell, live in this environment for a long time. It is also a great test for the psychology of the crew. 98%. Chapter 495. The little devil is crazy, he wants to catch Cecily. Captain, are we leaving this copy? Hearing Qin Tian's words, Zula and the others asked with bright eyes. These days are endlessly traversing this sea of corpses. To be honest, they are also a little bored. Although their vision has been numb. But my heart is still very uncomfortable. That's right. Facing the inquiries from several people, Qin Tian nodded and said, I haven't gained much for more than 10 days, and I'm wasting my time here any longer. It's time to go out and build our treasure island. Okay, Captain. As soon as they heard that they were going to the god-level treasure island to manage their own territory, the faces of Zula, Dong Zhuang and Chu Hongbao all showed excitement immediately. Normal people will get tired of eating meat all day long. Not to mention always being on board year-round. To them, being able to have an island full of birds and flowers allows them to go ashore for a few days from time to time. That is definitely a fairy-like enjoyment. With permission of Qin Tian, Chu Hongbao recalled the coordinates of an entrance and exit entered a few days ago. The battleship adjusted its direction slightly and then sailed towards that coordinate point. Beep beep. And at this moment, the voice of a private message reminder suddenly sounded in Qin Tian's mind. This made Qin Tian a little stunned. Recently, he hasn't received any private messages from other people for a long time. With curiosity, Qin Tian opened it with a thought. It turned out that it was Cecily, the eldest lady of the Adams family, who had sent him a message. He looked at the contents sent by the other party. After reading, his face suddenly became ugly. This is a distress message. And the content of the message is that the other party was besieged by the fleet of the little devil who lived a good life. When Qin Tian saw this message, the first thought was that the other party was joking with him when he was bored. It's just the little devil's virtue that he can't wait to lick the Lighthouse Empire as his own father. How could it be possible to do anything to the young lady of the Adams family who has a pivotal position in the Lighthouse Empire? Unless the kid is crazy. This is exactly how Qin Tian responded after reading it. Cecily, which muscle of your brain is cramped? Do you think I will believe such a low-level joke? After Qin Tian realized it, he was a little amused. Qin, I didn't lie to you, I was really FKED by those damn Sakura people, and even my freedom number was taken away. I'm being taken by Sister Feifei in 10 Genesis class combat planes now. Flying in the sky. He just finished sending the message, and Cecily quickly replied to him there. Qin Tian saw that the other party didn't seem to be joking, and the expression on his face became serious for a while. What happened to Cecily? Little devils, are they crazy? How dare they do anything to you? Don't they know your identity? Qin Tian was puzzled by this. You still have the nerve to say that I was harmed by you. Cecily replied angrily. What kind of rice? Did you kill me? Is it related to my yarn? Qin Tian was stunned. Oh, I don't even want to talk about it. When I first met those damn little devils, I thought they were just passing by. Even if they suddenly turned towards me, I thought they recognized me and wanted to come over. Say hello to please me. But I never imagined that after those nasty guys approached me, the battleship suddenly started to speed up, and finally thousands of people launched a gang fight against me. Even though Sister Feifei led hundreds of crew members to attack wildly and did not hold the line of defense, she was still rushed to the battleship by those little devils. In the end, Sister Feifei snatched a fighter jet and took me to escape. It may fall into the hands of those little devils. Cecily sent him a message saying. Qin Tian read these few messages. Still some Zhonger monks replied puzzledly. So, what does this have to do with me? Cecily was speechless. Also, thinking about it makes me angry. At that time, there were 2 female crew members of the God of Choice. One of them could understand the little devil's words. She translated some of the chattering conversations that the other party had at that time. Cecily replied. What is it? Qin Tian was very curious. They want to catch me and use me to threaten you, and they want you to ask the top management of the Yanlong Empire to attack the alien creatures that invaded the Sakura Empire. It is best to attract all the alien creatures back to you go to Yanlong Empire. Asking for flowers. What? Let me go. Are these little devils crazy? How can they be sure that I will be coerced by them, willing to take the opportunity of destroying the little devil to save you? You Adams family died. Such a thankless thing. What do you think they planned? Qin Tian asked the other party with some puzzlement. Well, it seems that you haven't paid much attention to the outside world in the dungeon these days. See this message from Qin Tian. Cecily replied helplessly. 0. I learned from some gods that the life of the little devils in this world is not so good. Alien creatures have taken away only 2/3 of their total population. The small counties on the periphery of the Sakura Empire are now 10 rooms and 9 empties. If the Sakura Empire doesn't want to get rid of those alien creatures, they will soon face the risk of extinction of the population. Yo-ha! Qin Tian looked at this message. His eyes immediately lit up. That said, the reason why the little devil hit you this time is because he is hungry and treats you as the last straw. Qin Tian replied with a smile. He just said it. Why did the little devil of the Sakura Empire suddenly show up after disappearing for a long time? And the first thing to do was to capture Cecily alive despite the anger of the Lighthouse Empire. Feeling confused for a long time, this is the local devil in this world who is about to be driven to extinction by alien creatures. This is for survival, and he is ready to put all his eggs in one basket regardless of anything. And the goal of this selection is also very high level. Cecily is in distress. Will Qin Tian save him or not? In order to destroy the little devil, he chose not to save him. Then 100% will offend the Adams family of the Lighthouse Empire. After all, Cecily was Qin Tian's friend, and the other party suffered this crime because of him. If he does not save, then the Adams family will definitely unite with some strengths of the Eurasian Federation to retaliate against Sichuan. 1. 98%. Chapter 496 Rescue Team, 4 mechas, 4 Genesis fighters. Of course, Qin Tian didn't care whether the other party retaliated or not. What Qin Tian cares about is, if he really did what the little devil asked him to do, then the Yanlong Empire is bound to become an international laughingstock. Although the Yanlong Empire is no longer afraid of the invasion of those alien creatures. But you, a country that has a blood feud with the Sakura Empire, actually puts the safety of its own citizens at risk, and you go to help a country that has a blood feud with you. Isn't this the proper Madonna plus brain damage? And Qin Tian can imagine it completely. Even if the Yanlong Empire sacrificed itself and saved the people of the Sakura Empire this time, there is a high probability that the other party will not have any thoughts of gratitude to them. It's the thought of Chu Yanlong that goes deep into the bone marrow of the top of the Sakura Empire. In the future, the 960 will definitely deal with the Yanlong Empire, and how it will deal with the Yanlong Empire. It is impossible for the Yanlong Empire to show any mercy just because the Yanlong Empire saved their country's life. Just because of these 2 points. It is also impossible for Qin Tian to go to Zhang Zongjun and ask the top officials of the Yanlong Empire to save the Cherry Blossom Empire. What are you hungry for? Are you still in the mood to make fun of me at such a time? Cecily sent a message a little speechlessly. All kinds of thoughts flashed in Qin Tian's mind. Saw the message from Cecily. Qin Tian smiled. After pondering for a while, Wei Yi sent a message to ask. Cecily, where are you now? How long can the fuel of the fighter jet last? Qin Tian thought about it. I think the most convenient way is to save the other party directly. After all, Cecily hasn't been caught by those little devils yet. As long as the opponent is lucky, the distance from him is close enough. Then he has full confidence to save the other party. He didn't believe that the little devil dared to run up to him and rob him. Soon Cecily sent him a message back. My current coordinates are XXX, 4x, and the fighter fuel is almost enough to fly more than 1,500 kilometers away. There are nearly 2,000 fighter jets biting me behind me. 1. Qin Tian saw this coordinate. Then he raised his head and asked Chu Hongbao. Hongbao, please check how far the coordinates of this Sea of Death instance are from this coordinate. Qin Tian talked about the coordinates that Cecily reported just now. Chu Hongbao searched and compared immediately after hearing the words. Then he said to Qin Tian, Captain, the distance is about 2,400 kilometers. Qin Tian nodded when he heard the words, and said to Xin Qi, Xiao Qi, you use the radio to notify Rui, Yun Yan, Li Yao, and Wei Hu to come to the control room. Do you know anyone who can fly a fighter jet? Someone with better skills. Quote. Facing Qin Tian's inquiry, Xin Qi and Lu Nan glanced at each other. Then Xin Qi said, it seems that both Zhang Xuancheng and Wang Junfeng can fly fighter jets, and their skills are quite amazing. Lu Nan continued. Not only that, Wu Yonghao and Gao Yu can also fly, especially Gao Yu, who seems to have been an ace pilot before. Hear their conversation. Qin Tian's eyes lit up immediately. Immediately said, then call the 4 of them over, I have a task to hand over to them later. Okay, Captain. Xin Qi nodded immediately upon hearing this. He picked up the microphone and started broadcasting, telling Rui and Union to come to the control room quickly. About 5 minutes or so. Rui, Union, Li Yao and Wei Yu came to the control room. Behind them are 3 men and 1 woman. The 3 men are all tall and big, with piercing eyes. As for the woman walking in the middle, she is nearly 30 years old. Those over 1.7 meters are also extremely tall and hot. It was Zhang Xuancheng, Wang Junfeng, Wu Yonghao and Gao Yu that Xin Qi and Lu Nan had mentioned. Qin Tian used divine detective technique to glance at the 4 of them calmly. After discovering that the talents of the 4 of them are all A+ level pilot talents, a look of satisfaction flashed across his eyes immediately. Captain, see Qin Tian. The 8 people shouted in unison. Captain, is there any urgent task here? Yun Yan looked at Qin Tian and asked curiously. Yes, the 8 of you will be required to perform a mission later. Qin Tian nodded and said, after going out for a while, you will drive mechas and fighter jets to rescue Cecily at a coordinate point. At this moment, your princess is driving a fighter jet to take Cecily running this way. What? The princess is in danger. Hear Qin Tian's words. Rui, who always had a poker face, showed a little anger when he heard Qin Tian's words. So far, only a few people from the Chengxing Empire have been resurrected. If die again, God knows if there is any chance of resurrection. Captain, we must save the princess. When Yun Yan heard Qin Tian's words, she asked anxiously. Don't worry, I called the 8 of you here for this matter. Cecily's fighter jet is about 2,300 to 400 kilometers away from here, and the fuel in her fighter jet is only enough for them to fly a distance of about 1,500 kilometers. Qin Tian comforted Yun Yan and said, and there are nearly 2,000 fighter jets chasing and killing them behind them. So after we release the instance of Sea of Death, your mission is to search for them in the direction they are. After the joint, if their fighters run out of fuel, you may have to send 2 mechs to fly back with their fighters. The remaining 6 people need 5.5 to be responsible for blocking the enemy with more than 1,000 and nearly 2,000 fighter jets chasing after them. Quote. Qin Tian talked about the possible combat situations in the mission. Well, Captain, I want to ask, if we don't have mechas, what should we use to fight? At this moment, Gao Yu, who had a fiery figure, suddenly asked, are those fighter jets on the flight deck? She was a little excited and curious. But in the face of Gao Yu's inquiry, Qin Tian nodded with a smile, and said, that's right, there are now 2 Genesis-class fighters on the deck, and I will make 2 more, and then the 4 of you will drive 4 fighters to cooperate with Rui. Are there any problems with their actions? No problem, Captain. Hearing Qin Tian's words, the 4 of them said excitedly. 98%. Chapter 497. Departure, the all or nothing of the Sakura Empire. And Gao Yu patted her proud chest confidently and said, don't worry, Captain, we promise to cooperate with Lord Rui and the others to complete this arduous task. Sit on the bench for so long on the battleship. Gao Yu and the others who were finally able to flex their muscles were naturally unwilling to miss such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as this task is completed well, maybe they will be one of the main forces of the conventional Air Force in the future. Although the Genesis fighter is far inferior to those tall mechs. But for those pilots who have only driven epic fighter jets, the Genesis-class fighter jet is already a 1 in a million supercar. And for Gao Yu's confidence, Qin Tian is also very satisfied. He nodded and said, very good, for more convenient communication, next I will teach you a way of spiritual connection, you must study it carefully. As he spoke, he taught the 4 of them how to use the Heartland Network. 21. After Gao Yu and the others have mastered the Xinyu network contact method proficiently, Qin Tian smiled and said to the 8 of them, I still have great confidence in your abilities, and I will tell Cecily the news that you will be dispatched for rescue. The success of the mission will depend on your presence. Played. After Qin Tian said something symbolically, then he focused his attention on the private chat interface with Cecily again. He wasn't worried about the mission failing. There are just over 1,000 fighter jets. It is estimated that Rui and Union leading the unmanned fighter group can handle it. Not to mention the powerful support of 4 Genesis-class fighters. Qin Tian first sent Cecily the coordinates of Sea of Death. Then he sent a message at the back. Cecily, you are flying over to Sea of Death now. We are about to leave the dungeon. After we leave, I will send Rui and the others to rescue you in mechas. You just go ahead, just fly this way in a straight line. Okay, thank you, Qin. There was a quick reply to the message. After the 2 parties have discussed the joint matters, Qin Tian stepped out of the control room. Come to the flight deck full of unmanned fighter jets. He then took out a blueprint of a Genesis-level fighter and a blueprint of a mythical-level fighter. Consumables start to be produced soon, after consuming 600 top-quality sea beast teeth and a lot of supplies. 2 brand-new fighter jets appeared before Qin Tian's eyes. It just so happens that the battleship has some weapons and equipment from the previous treasure chest. Qin Tian didn't hesitate to equip all 4 fighters directly. After about half an hour, the fleet finally came to the entrance of the terrifying passage built by corpses. Qin Tian first let Rui and Gao Yu enter their respective mechs and fighters. Immediately afterwards, he asked Yao Lang to release the undead nature buff on the goddess of Nemesis. After finishing all the preparations with great care, only then did Qin Tian give Chu Hongbao an order. Let the opponent drive the goddess of Nemesis into the portal first, and leave the copy of Sea of Death. He didn't know if the fleet of those guys from the Eurasian Federation was blocked outside. Anyway, He did all the preparatory work first. It's time to start fighting. Not in a hurry, just waiting for his nemesis to sail out of the uphill slope of the entrance. All that caught my eye were the blue sky and white clouds and a few sporadic warships of the idol gods chosen. There is no dense fleet of the Eurasian Federation at all. Although Qin Tian didn't know why those guys from the Eurasian Federation suddenly gave up trying to contain him. But since the other party didn't choose to block him at this juncture, then Qin Tian was delighted to hear and see, and started his own actions. Rui, Union, Xiaoyao, Gao Yu, it's up to you from now on, go and bring me back safe and sound. Qin Tian communicated with several people through the Heart Area Network and said, "Understood, Captain. Don't worry, we promise to complete the mission." Several people responded to Qin Tian's Heart Domain Network message one after another. 4 mechas soared into the sky. Gao Yu and the 4 of them also took off easily from the 2 runways with their respective fighter jets. Immediately behind, dozens of unmanned fighter jets also quickly took off and left. Thousands of kilometers away, Chu Feifei manipulated the fighter jet to continuously make various difficult evasive maneuvers. Dodge the series of machine gun bullets fired at her from behind. Sister Feifei, hold on for a while. Qin Tian has already dispatched his air force, led by Yurui and Yun Yan, and it won't take long to rescue us. Cecily cheered Chu Feifei up in the back seat. Hee, don't worry, Captain, those unskilled garbage behind us are still far from hitting us. Chu Feifei chuckled indifferently. Finished. She cranked up the engine, and the few rollers flew again, dodging a barrage of bullets. Fortunately, Cecily did not eat less king-level meat and dragon-tooth amethyst rice. Otherwise, he would have to be vomited by such a difficult maneuver. Idiot. And 10,000 meters behind their fighter jets. In the leading mythical fighter, a little devil couldn't help but cursed angrily. 200. Why does this damn woman have such good driving skills? We have chased each other for hundreds of kilometers, and it's hard to understand why we didn't even hit a single machine gun bullet. Mr. Koizumi, don't be discouraged. The performance of the opponent's fighter is obviously much better than ours. It is very likely to be a Genesis-class fighter. Someone comforted Koizumi Ichiro on the channel. I know, Mr. Xiaohao, I'm just a little worried about our fuel. If we continue this endless pursuit, it won't be long before our fuel is not enough to support us to return to the aircraft carrier. Koizumi Ichiro replied with some worry. No matter what, we have no way out. For the sake of the Empire, even if we are smashed to pieces, we must capture the woman in front and bring her back, so that she can be used to threaten that Qin Tian to submit obediently. Ba Ga Lu, if it wasn't for that Qin Tian, why would our Sakura Empire have fallen to this point? Even if we can escape the attack of alien creatures this time, I'm afraid we will be severely slaughtered by those guys from the Lighthouse Empire. Especially the Adams family may not let us go. That's for sure. Who asked us to kidnap her daughter? But there is no way. As long as the Empire can survive, these compensations are nothing at all. 99%. Chapter 498 Quick Retreat. This guy is not human. Facing Chu Feifei, who had superb driving skills in front of her. The pilots of the Sakura Empire were also completely out of temper. Let them do their best. But it couldn't hit the fighter in front at all. Don't talk about machine guns. Not even air-to-air missiles can help. There are more air-to-air missiles launched, but it is easier for the opponent to find a chance to dodge with their super high driving skills. And it can also cause head-to-head collisions between missiles and missiles due to signal delays and untimely responses. Thus there was a violent explosion. Affects their tracking vision. To them, now there is nothing more important than grabbing the 2 women in front. After chasing and fleeing, they flew forward for hundreds of kilometers. Sudden, a dozen or so missiles with white tail flames flew directly in front of them. Those missiles precisely passed Cecily and the others' fighter jets flying in the front. It directly bombarded the fighter jets of several little devils behind. Immediately, several of the crispy fighters exploded. Sister Feifei, what is this? See this scene in front of you. Cecily's eyes lit up in the back row, and she asked excitedly. That's right, judging by the situation, it should be Rui and the others who came to rescue us. Chu Feifei nodded, and said with a smile on her pretty face. Kenichi, 8 what's going on? What attacked us? The little devil who was biting Cecily and the others was stunned for a moment, and then began to yell and curse. Alert! Alert! The missile is launched from the direction of 12 o'clock, and the number of enemies is no less than 10 fighter jets. Baga, Lu, who is so meddling in other people's business, pay attention to everyone, wait for a while to find the enemy's traces, and tear them apart as soon as possible, backquote. Hey, be sure to let that nosy guy know what happens when he offends us. Just when a group of little devils were staring at the front with fierce eyes, a series of small black dots suddenly appeared at the far end of the sky. Then those little black dots started getting bigger and bigger. In the blink of an eye, the distance became much closer. Attack, let these bastards know how good we are. Show them some color. Following the order of the Air Force commander of the Little Devil, countless missiles roared towards those small black spots in the distance under the automatic aiming of the radar. Boom, boom, boom. It's just that they were greeted by dense machine guns and 2 large pieces of decoy shells. Most of the air-to-air missiles were either exploded by dense cannon fire or decoyed by decoy shells. The remaining fraction, though, turned downward in time. The precise and unmistakable bombardment landed on Rui's mechs and the group of unmanned fighter jets. But there are only 300 to 500 air-to-air missiles left, and they can't do much fatal damage at all. Because 90% of the quality of the missiles inside are green and blue quality with extremely low damage, only 10% can reach the purple epic level. So after the 300 to 500 missiles attacked, it only destroyed 3 or 4 unlucky unmanned fighter jets that were hit by thousands of missiles. The rest are just a small loss of blood. Buzz buzz. Take advantage of this gap. Engines whizzed and fighter planes roared. Rui and Union's 4 mechas and Gao Yu's 4 Genesis-class fighters led a group of 50 or 60 unmanned fighters to pass Cecily's fighters. He rushed directly towards the group of fighter jets of the Little Devils behind. Da da da. Shish. The machine gun roared wildly. Beam cannons, lasers, and beam rifles hit each other face to face, and the Little Devils cried and howled. Fighter planes exploded one after another in the air. Ha ha ha, good. Rui, Xiaoyao, clean them up for me. Chu Feifei shouted excitedly. Immediately, he also controlled the fighter jet to turn around. Press the fire button to join Rui and Union's attack. Baga, the other party actually has armor. These are Qin Tian's people. Fire, hurry up and fight back. We have a large number of people, so use crowd tactics. Cry, he's tired. Ah, I'll fight with you. Baka, what are you fighting for? Hurry up and retreat. Qin Tian's Air Force can deal with 3,000 or 4,000 fighter jets. The Empire now only has about 2,000 fighter jets from us. Don't you want to use the only Air Force of our Cherry Blossom Empire? Is the whole family going to be taken in? Facing Cecily's sudden reinforcements, the Little Devil's Air Force team fell into chaos in an instant. If it is an ordinary God's chosen reinforcements, they will definitely give it a go. But this is Qin Tian's air power. The less wins the more, the weak wins the strong. It is commonplace for dozens of fighter jets to wipe out 2,000 to 3,000 fighter jets of the opponent. So in this case, the Little Devil's Air Force instantly fell into the taboo of improper command and inconsistent actions in the army. And this naturally gave Rui and the others a chance. After the distance between the two sides was shortened, Rui directly activated the big move. I saw that the weapons on his head, shoulders, and legs shot out terrifying energy beams at the same time. Like a huge energy light knife, it blasted into the Little Devil's fighter group in an instant. In an instant, the place where the energy beam penetrated. One by one, the Little Devil's fighter planes began to explode. Immediately afterwards, before they, Wang Lizao, responded, Rui manipulated the mech to turn slightly to cross everything. Immediately, nearly 200 fighter jets on that horizontal line exploded into balls of splendid fireballs at the same time. Quote. Quick, get out of the body. Baga, what kind of driving method is this? This is completely beyond the normal driving method. Bakayaro, Ha Yaku, get out of here quickly, this guy is beyond our ability to deal with. After being ravaged by Rui's big move, only then did the Little Devil's commander react as if he had just woken up from a dream. All the pilots under the opponent hurriedly gave the order to retreat in the channel. It's just that his order was obviously a bit late. How could Rui and the others, who were already getting closer, allow the duck with its mouth full to fly away like this? Immediately, he chased after him in a long snake formation. 99%. Chapter 499. Let Cecily join our captain. Seeing that the performance of their fighter jets is far inferior to Rui's, it is impossible to withdraw safely at a distance. The Little Devil's Air Force commander opened the private chat interface in desperation. Start sending messages to Miyayoshi Hidenobu, who is hundreds of kilometers away. General Miyayoshi, I am Kazuo Fukamitsu. Please lead the fleet to evacuate from this sea area quickly. He sent a private message on the side. While pressing the headset on the helmet, he said to the pilots on the channel, "Brothers, if this continues, none of us will be able to escape. Some of us must stay behind to entangle them and create opportunities for the rest to escape. Master, I am willing to stay. Anyway, I have no relatives in this world, and I will die if I die. And me, for the rebirth of the Empire, I am willing to sacrifice everything I have. Commander, give the order, we are not afraid of death." In the public channel, voices of young people who are willing to die generously are constantly heard. This made Kazuo Fukamitsu clenched his fists unconsciously. It was difficult for him to accept the fact at present. Obviously, half a year ago, their Sakura Empire was still in a good situation. The birth of Yamato gave them infinite hope. Just when all of them thought that the glory of the most glorious period of the Sakura Empire could be reproduced in the future, Qin Tian appeared. After that, their situation in World of Warships began to plummet. Up to now, it has reached the point where the country is about to be destroyed. And all of this is thanks to that Qin Tian. One man, what happened? And at this moment, the notification tone of the private chat in his mind suddenly rang. It was Miyagi Haichin who sent him a message. Kazuo Fukamitsu hurriedly restrained himself. Respectfully send a message to the other party. General, the mission failed. Cecily contacted the Qin Tian. For some reason, we were attacked by Qin Tian's air force just now. What? How could Qin Tian's air power be there? Could it be that he came out of the Sea of Death dungeon? Miyayoshi Hidenobu replied almost instantly. Although I don't want to admit it, I have to say, General, your idea is correct. Kazuo Fukamitsu sighed, and replied helplessly. Damn. Why is it at this juncture? In the control room of an aircraft carrier. Gongyoshi Hidenobu looked at the information in the private chat interface, and his brows condensed into a Chuan shape. With Qin Tian intervening in this way, their plan to capture Cecily failed 100% this time. And because Cecily is the daughter of the Adams family. So their move also offended the Lighthouse Empire. Even if the outside Sakura Empire asks for help from the Lighthouse Empire. There is this premise. I am afraid that the other party will just make a fuss about this matter, thus refusing to send troops to help their Sakura Empire. In fact, the reason why they came up with this idea this time. It was also because Cecily, who happened to be alone, made such a bad move. It was off to a good start, but never expected that there would be a Genesis-class fighter jet and a pilot with such superb driving skills on the opponent's battleship. The combination of the two can be said to have completely disrupted his plan. Now Qin Tian appears again like this. He seems to have seen the scene where the Sakura Empire is about to usher in the end of the world. Baga, one man, led everyone to withdraw, as much as we can withdraw, this time we admit it. Helplessly, he suppressed the sadness and anger in his heart. Gong Yoshihide later issued a message to Fukamitsu Kazuo to retreat. Understood, General, I will try my best to let everyone evacuate safely. After Kazuo Fukamitsu replied to Miyayoshi Hidenobu's message. To close the party's private chat interface. Then he turned his gaze to the crowd of robes around him. Big guy, you can control the unmanned fighter jets. Those who are willing to stay CBDC will turn around and fight back with me. Those who cannot control the unmanned fighter jets will all return to the fleet. Don't stay and make fearless sacrifices. Kazuo Fukamitsu finished speaking. Then he controlled the fighter plane to make a U-turn maneuver to climb upwards. Behind him, nearly 1,000 fighter jets also began to control the steering at the same time. 2/3 of them are all unmanned fighter jets. Seeing this scene, Yunyan smiled coldly. Then he turned on the loudspeaker and shouted to Cecily's fighter, Linglong, you tune the channel to the third channel we usually use. P.S. Chu Feifei wrote it wrong earlier, the princess is the crew member of Nangongal, the bosses are sorry. In Cecily's Genesis-class fighter. After Linglong heard Yunyan's words, a knowing smile instantly appeared on her heroic and pretty cheeks. The third encrypted channel was the channel they used when they were in the Chengxing Empire. She also knows the encrypted password inside. So after some operations, she successfully entered the third encrypted channel. Hi, everyone, long time no see. Lingling entered the channel very excitedly and greeted everyone first. Wow, it's really you, Linglong, I couldn't believe it when the captain said it. Yunyan also said with emotion. Meet more than one epoch apart. This is such a commendable thing. As the saying goes, meeting an old friend in a foreign land is nothing more than that. Linglong, congratulations on your resurrection. We will be able to fight side by side again from now on. Even Rui opened his mouth to express his congratulations. Rui and Union were sending messages at the same time. While manipulating the mecha, he launched an attack on the group of fighter jets flying over quickly. And at this moment, everyone saw only a blue lightning flash across the entire battlefield suddenly. Immediately afterwards, the Little Devils group of nearly 1,000 fighter jets exploded one after another. When the blue lightning passed through the entire Little Devils fighter group, it appeared in the distance and stopped. The blue mecha controlled by Li Yao was covered with dense light particles. In his left hand he holds a superalloy shield. Standing in the void with the Creation Class 10,000 refinement ship slashing knife in his right hand. Linglong saw this scene. Some enviously said in the channel, "You guys are so cool, you have already turned on the motor. I want to do it too." Yun Yan smiled and said to her, "That's not easy, isn't your Captain Linglong's battleship taken away? You persuade Cecily to join our captain, let alone mechs, even king-level flesh and blood fruits can be eaten for you." 99%. Chapter 500 Annihilation and Return. She knew that Linglong really liked eating meat and fruit. In the harsh environment of today's world of warships, materials and everything have to be obtained by salvaging treasure chests, killing sea beasts, and trading with God's chosen. It is almost impossible to eat meat and fruit in one sitting. So this condition should be a big attraction for the other party. And Linglong heard Yun Yan's words. I couldn't help but feel a little moved in my heart. For her, if Cecily can really join Qin Tian's fleet. Not to mention that you can eat meat and fruit every day, and drive your beloved mecha. Just being able to fight side by side with Rui, Union and the others already made her very happy. Captain, we. Thinking of this, Linglong controls the fighter jet to avoid the enemies shooting and fight back. At the same time, he asked Cecily behind him with some hesitation. I'm not sure whether Liberty was tossed and sunk by those little devils in Sakura country. If freedom really sank, then we can only temporarily join Qin's command. Cecily bit her lip and said with some reluctance. After all, it was a battleship that she had spent several years working hard to upgrade to the space carrier. If it is sunk by the little devils of the Sakura Empire, that's really a pity. That's right, such a good battleship really can't be cheap for those little devils. Linglong nodded and said in agreement. And Yun Yan, who heard the conversation between the two on the channel, said with a smile, don't worry, the captain will definitely not let those little devils get away with it so easily, but right now we are running out of fuel, so we can only go back first. Add a wave and see what the captain will do next. Cecily and Linglong looked at each other and nodded upon hearing this. Now this situation, indeed, can only be the first. With the current fuel in their fighter jets, it is still unknown whether they can successfully fly to Qin Tian's battleship. And there is no suspense in the next battle. Just less than 1,000 fighter jets. Under the attacks of Rui and Union, they were almost vulnerable. At the end, Kazuo Fukumitsu's fighter plane was surrounded by more than a dozen unmanned fighter jets. After sending a private message, General, run, to Gongji Shoksan. His fighter plane exploded in the sky. And with his Air Force commander died. The rest of the little devils who stayed behind also lost their minds completely. In just 10 minutes, the little devil fighter group that stayed behind was wiped out. During this period, Li Yao's performance was the most eye-catching. Genesis level antimatter particle engine booster plus the indestructible Genesis level 10,000 forging ship slashing knife. Let her feel like no one in the little devil's fighter group. Like a flash of lightning, it came and went. The enemy's steel-armored fighter jets are like melons and vegetables in front of the Genesis class 10,000 forging sword in her hand. Randomly cut one by one. Seeing this scene, Cecily and Linglong were relieved. In my heart, I kept cursing that the little devil deserved it. At the beginning, these bastards relied on their numbers, but they chased and blocked them a lot. If it weren't for Linglong's amazing skills in controlling fighter jets. God knows after being caught by the other party. What kind of situation will the two of them face? Okay, Miss Cecily, and Linglong, let's go back to the captain first. With the character of the captain, this matter will definitely not end like this. And at this moment, Yun Yan's voice suddenly sounded in the channel. Face the offer. Linglong agreed. She glanced at the fuel gauge on the dashboard. He said to Cecily with a serious face, Captain, we really need to find a place to refuel. The fuel we have now is enough for us to fly about 200 kilometers at most. Then let's go to Chin first, but can we fly to the other party's battleship? Cecily nodded and asked worriedly. Don't worry, Captain, we can let Rui and the others fly with us. Linglong smiled and comforted the other party and said, Ha ha ha, that's right, Miss Cecily, just leave this question to us. Yun Yan said with a smile in the communication channel. Immediately, she and Rui's mechs flew to the sides of their fighter jets, one on the left and one on the right, asking for flowers. Then the two manipulated the mecha and gently supported the sides of the fighter with their hands. The two mechas and one fighter flew across the sky quickly as if they were connected as one. This okay? Cecily asked in astonishment when she saw this scene. This operation seems to be quite simple, but the actual difficulty and risk factor are extremely high. Rui and Yun Yan, as long as any one of them makes a mistake, the fighter loses its balance and crashes into one of the mechs. Then what greets them will inevitably be the end of the plane crashing. Certainly, the crash was about the fighter plane she and Linglong piloted. 0. It wasn't the advanced mecha that Jirui and Union were driving. That's why Cecily was so uneasy. Don't worry, Captain, if this matter is handed over to the other two mechas, I will indeed be worried. But if it is handed over to Rui and Yun Yan, it will never happen anything, and even if there are some accidents, with the control level of the three of us, we can still save the day. Linglong saw that her own captain was worried. He smiled and said a word of comfort. This is naturally not her exaggeration. Just rely on her, Rui and Yun Yan's manipulation skills. What a surprise. The three of them manipulated it to the limit, and they were indeed sure enough to avoid this kind of machine crash and death. If so, that's okay. Hearing Linglong's confident answer, Cecily let out a long breath. I can tell, she still has great trust in the crew she has recently taken over. And because Rui and Union controlled the mecha to assist in the flight. So Cecily and the others' fighter jets, which could only fly about 200 kilometers, had to fly nearly 400 kilometers before they ran out of fuel and lost mobility. This situation made Cecily's heart aroused again. It's just that they were all safe and sound until they saw Qin Tian's, goddess of Nemesis, and landed safely. This made Cecily couldn't help but marvel at the superb driving skills of the ace mechanics of the Chengxing Empire. Skills of the ace mechanics of the Chengxing Empire. Skills of the